Chapter 327. Rather than letting Jaking lose everything, he might as well protect his shares in Hai Rui. At least, he wouldn't end up with nothing in the end. But just gaining the upper hand wasn't enough. Mo Ting still needed to prove Tangning's fans' innocence. So he still needed to find the fake fans and collect evidence. According to her agreement with Jaking, Yu Shanshan was supposed to leave the film in glory. But now, not only was she covered in blood, she was also stuck in a dilemma. Tongning was originally supposed to kneel, but now, she was the one kneeling. Tongning was originally supposed to apologize, but now, she was forced to admit defeat. Not only that, she even jokingly refused to act in a film because of a bunch of thugs. Not only did she offend Hai Rui, she also dragged her own agency, Star Art, down with her. An impact like this for Yu Shanshan was extremely fatal. Are you satisfied with this result? Yu Shanshan asked Jaking angrily over the phone. When are you going to return my child to me? I can't even protect myself right now. To you, I'm completely useless. I told you a long time ago, when faced with a wolf, Mo Ting would turn into a demon. I can already imagine his revenge. I also told you a long time ago that you were no match for him. But I never expected you would kneel in front of him in the first round. Do you know why he directly mentioned your name at the board meeting? He wanted to tell you that he can't be bothered to play with you. Shut up. Jaking yelled at Yu Shanshan. Shut up, shut up. Return my child to me. Yu Shanshan was about to go crazy. If you have the ability, then come at me. Don't hurt my child. I haven't used you enough yet. Jaking replied. Since things had gotten to this point, he was going to hold on to someone in the same boat. Even if he was going to die, he was going to drag someone down with him. Help me think of a way. I want the script for stupid. What do you want the script for? Yu Shanshan was about to go crazy because of this lunatic. I want to establish my own film and television agency. What do you think I want the script for? You should also cancel your contract with Star Art and sign with my agency. You're crazy. Otherwise, you will have to wait to collect your child's corpse. Yu Shanshan directly hung up Jaking's phone. Like she had received a huge shock. She smashed everything in the living room and lost control of her emotions. It turned, when some things were done wrong, there was no turning back. Stealing the script. This was Jaking's second best option. He originally wanted to tangle with Mo Ting, but who would have thought? Mo Ting had never placed him in his eyes. To Mo Ting, he was actually nothing. Star Art was afraid that Hai Rui would pursue the matter. So they quickly released a statement saying that everything was a misunderstanding and advised both parties to look at the matter rationally. After all, Yu Shanshan was doing this to protect her fans, so it was understandable that she refused to perform. He was playing the sympathy card. It was also called acting pitiful. Compared to this Yu Shanshan, the madam's ability to respond to emergencies is much better. Although she didn't make an appearance, she managed to unite the fans in time and turn them into her strongest support. She's not bad at all. Lu Che placed the newspaper in front of Mo Ting and sighed. There's no comparison, Mo Ting replied. How could these people be compared to Tongning? It seems like Director Tseng has given up on his son. In the face of benefits, even kinship has to give way. Mo Ting lowered his head and did not say another word. A moment later he suddenly said to Lu Che, we still haven't found evidence to prove the Tang fans' innocence. Hurry up. What about the movie? I have my own plans. Stupid had gone through such a huge storm, yet Yu Shanshan refused to perform just as filming was about to finish. So of course the female lead had to be replaced. But there was no way he could announce that the female lead was his wife. For the sake of protecting Tongning, Mo Ting decided to send her straight to the set and keep the female lead a secret until the film was released. Maintaining a mystery was sometimes a part of publicity, but if she were to appear on set out of nowhere, she was bound to receive a lot of questions, especially since she had never had any acting experience. What about Yu Shanshan's matter? Tell Star Art that we've reconciled. I don't quite understand. What are you trying to say, President? Lu Che refused to believe that Mo Ting would be so kind. What I'm trying to say is, when Star Art announces that Yu Shanshan will continue filming, Hai Rui will announce that they've replaced the female lead. After speaking, Emoting lifted his head and continued. Don't forget, the person that refused to continue filming is Yu Shanshan. Remember to ask for compensation. Lu Che knew it. According to Emoting's black-bellied nature, it would be strange if he let Star Art and Yu Shanshan off. Not long after, it was nighttime in Beijing. Emoting returned home from Hai Rui to find Tongning still reading the script for Stupid. His originally heavy heart sank even further. Stop reading. You've already memorized your lines. Emoting snatched the script from her hands. Let your eyes rest for a bit. I've seen the changes in the outside world and all the struggles you've faced. How could I not do anything? Tongning said as she leaned into Emoting's embrace. I've found my new goal. What? That means it's useful to you. I've always wanted to do something practical to reduce your stress. And now isn't my chance here? Tongning smiled as she shook the script in her hands. Even if it means you have to give up on your modeling career? Emoting looked at her in seriousness. Do you know that once you enter the set, it will be the same as giving up on the autumn/winter fashion week? It's not that serious. I can still attempt next year's Victoria's Secret. Tongning comforted Emoting. Most importantly, I really like this female lead. Since it's my destiny, I will definitely not shirk from it. But the male lead Lin Sheng doesn't seem to like me. I'm sure he has a problem with me acting. That's not something you should worry about. Emoting held onto Tongning's head and placed a kiss on her forehead. You simply need to be yourself. You have so much confidence in me. Tongning suddenly smiled. Seeing Tongning's smile, all the distracting thoughts in the outside world suddenly disappeared. Even though the ones suffering and being abused were always others. I'm sorry, I've been selfish on this matter. Emoting suddenly said to Tongning. Sorry, Tongning's body trembled. Emoting had never apologized to anyone so easily. So, she sat up and wrapped her arms around Emoting's neck. There's no need to say things like this between us. She had no intention of competing with Yu Shanshan. But this film was very important to both her and Emoting. So, no matter who tried to ruin it, she would not agree to it. This was her determination as a wife to protect her husband. Chapter 328. After the incident with the fans, Star Arts Factory's plans were completely disrupted. They originally wanted to watch the drama unfold, but now, they had no choice but to step out and speak out. If they had known they would have to pay a price like this, they might as well have stepped out from the start. Now that Hai Rui and Tongning were standing on the moral high ground, all Star Art could do was swallow their anger. Star Art sure is shameless. Previously, when you were being attacked, Star Art refused to do anything about it. Now that they've suffered a backlash, they're finally stepping out. It's too late. Long Jia watched the live stream of the interview and couldn't help but complain. How dare they say Yu Shanshan will continue acting? Back when they first refused to act, they were so confident. Now they still have the cheek to continue acting? Don't they feel disgusted? By the way, Tongning, what's wrong with your autumn/winter fashion week? Why did you ask me to cancel all of my previous interviews? Long Jia suddenly remembered what Tongning had told her. Plus, why are you still reading the script for Stupid? You've almost memorized it. What are you still reading? No matter how much you read, that disgusting woman will continue acting. Who said so? Tongning asked Long Jia with a deeper meaning. Are you saying boss has plans to replace her? But Yu Shanshan's scenes are almost finished. If he were to replace her, wouldn't that be a huge loss? Go back to watching the news. Tongning did not say anything else. In fact, she did not even mention to Long Jia that she would officially be joining the cast of Stupid that afternoon. Long Jia shrugged her shoulders, not understanding what Tongning meant. She simply picked up her phone and continued to watch Star Art's interview. Shanshan was indeed a little impulsive in the past and caused a lot of trouble for Hai Rui and the cast of Stupid. However, Shanshan acted this way because she saw her fans being wronged. This is understandable. I hope the netizens can be a little more forgiving. In a moment, Shanshan will return to the cast and continue filming Stupid. After the senior official finished speaking, he passed the topic to Yu Shanshan, who was standing beside him. Today, Yu Shanshan had used extremely thick makeup to cover up her swollen eyes from crying the day before. I will repay Hai Rui's trust. After saying that, Yu Shanshan returned the microphone to the senior executive beside her. But at this time, the reporters started to make things difficult. Did Star Art hold this interview in consultation with Hai Rui? Why hasn't Hai Rui expressed their stance yet? Yu Shanshan was so determined to stop filming, but now that the situation has changed, she wants to continue filming. She really doesn't have a choice. Yu Shanshan's originally pale face turned even uglier. She picked up the microphone and replied, "Because no one is more suitable than me for the role of an actress in Stupid." "Miss Yu, are you saying that no one else can do it? I'm the most suitable." Yu Shanshan's words were extremely confident and firm, leaving the reporters speechless. Plus, Hai Rui had yet to make a statement, so the media assumed Star Art and Hai Rui had already spoken to each other. Yu Shanshan rushed straight back to the set. However, she discovered that everyone's gaze had changed. "Sister Yu, why did you come back?" When the assistant director saw her, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. "What do you mean? The higher-ups have informed us that the female lead has been replaced. Didn't you receive a notification from Hai Rui?" The assistant director said as he patted her on the shoulder. "You really can't blame the crew for this matter. Back then, you stopped filming just because you said so. You didn't consider the entire team at all. Even if your fan ended up in the hospital, what does it have to do with you? As an actor, the most important thing is their professionalism. For an actor like you to stop filming at the drop of a hat, who would dare to hire you in the future? Plus, you even threatened Hai Rui to compromise by stopping filming. If I were you, I would be too embarrassed to appear on set today." After speaking, the assistant director brushed past Yu Shanshan. However, after taking a few steps forward, he added, "I'm going to go pick up the new female lead." "Who is it?" Yu Shanshan asked with tears of anger in her eyes. "It's a secret." After speaking, the assistant director left, leaving Yu Shanshan to return to where she came from. She knew Mo Ting wouldn't let her off so easily. How could he possibly let her continue acting? But did he have to use such a method to humiliate her? Why didn't Hai Rui announce it when Star Art was released on the news? After Yu Shanshan returned to Beijing, she complained to the higher-ups of Star Art. Afterwards, the higher-ups gave Mo Ting a phone call. However, they weren't qualified enough to see Mo Ting, so Lu Che was the one negotiating with them. "Assistant Lu, didn't you say you wanted to reconcile? Why did you replace our Shanshan?" "Reconcile? We simply said we wouldn't pursue the matter of you fans messing with Tongning's car. But, we never agreed to let Yu Shanshan return to the set. Let's get this straight. She's the one that wants to stop filming. Is Hai Rui a place where you can come and go as you please? Not only that, Hai Rui will pursue Yu Shanshan for the damages she caused to Stupid during the time she stopped filming. Prepare the compensation." After speaking, Lu Che hung up the phone. Not long after, he followed Mo Ting's instructions and instructed the PR department to release a statement about replacing the female lead. This wasn't the first time Hai Rui had slapped the face like this. After all, the incident with Luo Hao from Chengtian also ended up like this. Star Art actually wants Yu Shanshan to return to acting? Isn't this a joke? How powerful is Hai Rui? If they can even do something like stop filming, it would be strange if President Mo could tolerate it. Previously, when Tongning was being stepped on, Yu Shanshan was acting all arrogant. Now that the situation has changed, she suddenly remembers her identity as an actress and has the guts to appear on set. Hai Rui's ability to slap people in the face is getting better and better. Not only have they replaced the female lead and found a new one, they even want to hold Yu Shanshan accountable. Ha ha ha, I feel so good. What's going on? But who is the new female lead? Yu Shanshan thinks too highly of herself. She's just an actress, yet she wants to control the entire production. She doesn't know that the production will continue without her. I also want to know who the female lead is. But this time, it seems the production is keeping it a secret. It would be best if her acting is better than Yu Shanshan's and make her proud. In such a short period of time, Hai Rui actually released a statement about replacing Yu Shanshan. As Long Jie watched Tongning pack her things, she couldn't help but guess. Don't tell me the new female lead is you? Yes, I am, Tongning nodded. In fact, I will be joining the cast very soon. Right now? Long Jie was caught off guard. She felt like she had been struck by lightning. Wait, are you really going to act? Act. Chapter 329. Yes, acting, Tongning replied confidently. No, have you really made up your mind? Even if you've made up your mind, won't you attract the disgust and ridicule from the crew if you just jump in like this? You obviously know that Lin Xing doesn't like you. In fact, the entire crew doesn't like you. Don't worry, I have my ways. In other words, from today onwards, you will need to temporarily leave Wuxia and stay by my side. After all, I am on set. There are a lot of things I can't handle on my own. What about boss? Boss isn't going? There are some things that I need to solve on my own. For example, how to conquer those who look down on her. She then turned to Long Jie and said, hurry home and pack your luggage. We need to rush to the set at 5 p.m. Are you planning to switch to the film industry? But what about your supermodel status? It's only one step away. But he needs me. Tongning was well aware that she was only one step away from becoming an international supermodel. But she also understood how much Mo Ting wanted her to take on the role of an actress. If I can't become a supermodel this year, there's still next year. Okay, I know no one can change your mind. Since you've made up your mind, I will continue to accompany you. After speaking, Long Jie turned around and gave Wuxia a phone call as she rushed home to pack her luggage. Tongning looked at Long Jie's back and suddenly felt a little guilty. Long Jie had been with her since Tianyi and it wasn't easy for her to become the assistant of a top model. Yet, now that she was about to switch to filming, she had to start all over again. For her, the modeling industry had already been around for 9 years. Everything had already become part of her heart. But the film and television industry was a completely new field. At the same time, because Hai Rui announced that they were withdrawing their actress, Yu Shanshan was slapped across the face by Hai Rui and became a laughingstock in the industry. However, none of this was important. The matter would be settled sooner or later, but J. King wanted her to get the complete script for Stupid. But now that she couldn't even enter the set, how was she supposed to get the complete script from Coke? After all, she was an actress. The script in her hands was only a part of her. It was not complete. Or was he going to sort out the information she had in her hands, add in what she had overheard, and hand it over to J. King? At the moment, this seemed to be the most suitable solution. Mo Ting really couldn't blame her. She had no choice. So, she pulled out her phone and dialed J. King's number. I've prepared what you wanted. When can we meet? As soon as possible, of course. On the other end of the line, J. King sneered. Did you think that I would start filming as soon as I got the script? Of course not. I want to polish it up and make it better than Stupid. I want to shoot a TV series, then find the richest investors and pull in A-list actors. Despicable. Be careful, Yu Shanshan. You're just cursing yourself. J. King had no sense of danger at all. He thought Mo Ting simply wanted the board to see their true colors. But, how could there be such a simple thing in this world? How could the fate of those who seized power be as easy as him? Meanwhile, it was at this time that Lin Chong came looking for J. King. He was covered in injuries. At first, J. King thought he had bumped into a beggar. But after taking a closer look, he realized it was Lin Chong. Perhaps he still had some use, so he ordered the bodyguards to carry Lin Chong home. After waking up in J. King's villa, Lin Chong sat up in surprise and looked at J. King cautiously. It's me. What are you afraid of? J. King laughed. It was my fault for asking someone to beat you up. But from now on you should still work for me. I'm about to set up my own agency. Lin Chong thought for a moment, and eventually nodded his head. However, after resting with his back facing J. King, his eyes suddenly darkened. At least, he was in this jerk's home. Although strictly speaking, it was just a jerk meeting another jerk. But since you were beaten up so badly by me, why did you come looking for me instead of Mo Ting? J. King asked cautiously as he stood up. Lin Chong did not respond. But his body was trembling. Because of this natural reaction, Jaking understood that he had already spoken to Mo Ting. But Mo Ting was even more ruthless and vicious than he was. You should get some rest. That afternoon, as Tongning arrived at the film studio, the person to receive her was the assistant director. Out of everyone on set, only he and Coke knew that the female lead had been replaced with Tongning. To make Mo Ting happy, the assistant director immediately arranged for Tongning to stay in the best hotel with the most comfortable room. In order to make Tongning feel a little more comfortable, he spent the entire afternoon preparing. However, as soon as Tongning saw Mo Ting, she did not care. She simply said to the assistant director, "I want to try out my scenes first." The assistant director thought to himself, since she was a model, what acting skills could she possibly have? Wasn't she just going through the motions? Why did she have to be so serious? President Mo isn't here today. But that's fine. I'll show you around the set first. Practically no one expected that the thing they were worried about would finally happen. Mo Ting had actually managed to get his girlfriend onto the set. In fact, as soon as they laid eyes on Tongning, they thought they were seeing things. But there was no mistaking her iconic legs. I never thought President Mo would actually do something like this. This is also the first time I've seen President Mo make an exception for someone. But stupid is an important project for Hai Rui. Isn't he afraid that Tongning will ruin it? This little bit of money is nothing to President Mo, isn't it, just for Tongning to fool around? Disgusting. Can't she just quietly be her own model? If she knew how to act, I would already be a top actress. Tongning followed behind the assistant director, but she could still hear the discussions behind her. Although she slightly furrowed her brows, she did not hold it against the other party. Otherwise, she would be punished on her first day on set. Everyone stop and listen to me. Especially you, Lin Sheng. The assistant director pulled Tongning in front of him and warned the famous actor not to lose his composure. Lin Sheng turned his head and glanced at Tongning. His eyes were filled with ridicule and dissatisfaction. I don't act with trash. After speaking, Lin Sheng turned to leave. But Tongning suddenly spoke up and held him back. Why don't you stay and watch my audition? You? Lin Sheng scoffed. What's there to watch? Yu Shanshan is already the best. Chapter 330. Tongning did not force him. She simply smiled calmly. In the film and television industry, there were three main categories. Those with acting skills and popularity, those with acting skills but no popularity, and those with acting skills but no acting skills. Lin Sheng obviously belonged to the first category. As for Tongning, she barely even fell into the third category. It's fine, he's always been this serious, the assistant director reassured. He was afraid that Tongning would get angry and complain to Mo Ting. Tongning smiled gently and turned to look at director Coke. Coke shook her hand in a friendly manner and said in French, I've already told you from the start, you are destined to be here. Please allow me to try out a scene and let the crew decide if I should stay or leave. Tongning requested in seriousness. Actually, there's no need for that. I want the entire team to be united. At least, I don't want to affect the progress and quality of Stupid. I also hope everyone agrees with me. Tongning explained calmly. Coke looked into her eyes and realized no matter what she did, she had to be 100% serious. So he nodded his head and agreed. In that case, let's go to the rehearsal room. Everyone on set will be there. Thank you. The average person didn't understand French. So, the only person that truly understood what Tongning wanted to do was assistant director He. This was also the reason why Mo Ting hired him. He wanted to help solve director Coke's inconveniences. Even though Coke didn't have much of a problem speaking in English, Tongning actually wanted to try out a scene, and had the guts to let the crew decide if she should stay or leave. Didn't she know that everyone on set was an expert in acting? How dare she bring it up? However, Tongning did not panic at all. She listened to Coke's instructions, and headed to the rehearsal room with everyone else. To prevent Tongning from cheating, Coke printed out all 183 scenes that originally belonged to Yu Shanshan, and asked Tongning to draw straws. Everyone crowded around the rehearsal room anxiously. They wanted to see how badly a model could perform. But among them Lin Sheng was missing. To be fair, can any one of you help me draw straws? Tongning said to the crew. The script clerk closest to Tongning was a young man. With anticipation for a good show, he stepped forward and pulled out a piece of paper from the pile. He then showed it to everyone. Scene 47. Show me Yushanshan's 47 scenes, Coke said. Afterwards, the relevant personnel immediately pulled up the footage and played it for everyone to see. The 47th scene was about the actress discovering that she was pregnant. On the screen, Yushanshan, after receiving the report, sat on the sofa with her arms wrapped around her knees and said a lot of nonsense to her manager. Most importantly, the expression on her face was a mixture of joy and worry, filled with disdain and ridicule towards fate. Actually, it wasn't very outstanding. It was just an average performance. However, Yushanshan's eyes seemed to be able to speak. It was a perfect expression of the actress' self-deprecating mood. This scene was very difficult. Tongning was unlucky. If it had been an actress seducing an athlete or abandoning a baby after giving birth, it would have been easier to control. However, she just had to pick one of the more difficult scenes in the middle. Above all, with Yushanshan's performance, no matter what Tongning did, it would be a joke. Tongning, if you have any questions you can. No problem. No problem, Tongning interrupted. In fact, she repeated herself twice. No problem, I can do it. Everyone looked at her suspiciously. However, she did not seem nervous at all. She simply said, I can do it. Set reporter, pass the script to Tongning. No need, Tongning replied straightforwardly. It seemed, even Yushanshan wasn't as familiar with the lines of the actress in Stupid as she was. Okay, clear the set then. We will start directly from the hospital. Everyone watching the show crossed their arms and took a few steps back with a mysterious smile on their faces. They were waiting to see Tongning make a fool of herself. A model that walked the runway was supposed to wear a beautiful outfit and give off a pleasant visual experience. Yet, she actually ran all the way here to test everyone's patience. Long Jia was also among the crowd. She was also curious as to whether Tongning could actually act. Not only was she curious, she even pulled out her phone and began recording. Only Tongning remained calm from start to finish. Separated by a door, no one knew what Tongning was preparing behind the door. I must be crazy to come all the way here to watch a model act. Shoo. This is President Mo's girlfriend. In a moment, control yourself. Your laughter is the most exaggerated. So what if she's his girlfriend? If she doesn't know how to act, then she doesn't know how to act. I refuse to believe that she's a genius. Amongst the crowd, two tall men suddenly appeared and stood behind everyone else. How could Mo Ting miss out on such an important event? He simply did not alert anyone as he stood at the back with Lu Che. It's starting, it's starting. Following the sound of banging, the room door suddenly burst open. That's right. He didn't push it open or kick it open. He used his body to knock it open. It wasn't a forceful knock. He simply looked like he was stumbling. As he stumbled, the report in Tongning's hands fell to the ground. On top of the report, one word was clearly written, pregnant. Tongning did not say a word as her chest heaved up and down. Not long after, she suddenly burst out in anger as she kneeled on the floor, crumpled the report into a ball, and threw it into the bin. Afterwards, she leaned against the wall and suddenly did something shocking. She jumped up and down in the room. It seemed she wanted to kill the child. Everyone began to panic. They thought there was a child in her stomach, and they were afraid she would actually have a miscarriage. Not only did she jump up, she also ran over to the sofa and jumped up. However, because she lost her footing, she suddenly fell down and almost hit the corner of the sofa. But just a second ago, she wanted to kill the child so badly, but now, she subconsciously covered her stomach. She was an actress, but she was also a mother. She had instincts. So after struggling on the floor for a few seconds, she suddenly lifted her head and revealed a detached and arrogant expression. She then grabbed her phone from the table and gave her manager a phone call. Jessie, I'm fucking pregnant. The scene. After acting, Tongning returned to her normal expression as she tidied up her clothes and put on her shoes. But who was going to tell the group of onlookers what had just happened? The air in the rehearsal room suddenly became very thin, and everyone was abnormally quiet. Everyone's eyes widened, as if they couldn't believe it. "Can anyone pinch me?" Did the actress in the script come to life? A staff member suddenly turned around and asked the people around him. Or was I hallucinating? Chapter 331. Tang. Has Tongning really never acted before? Someone questioned. Impossible. With this level of skill, it's impossible. Is it because we didn't have high expectations? Is that why we were surprised? After they whispered a few words to each other, the rehearsal room was still quiet. Every now and then, a cough could be heard from the crowd, like they were trying to break the awkward silence. Afterwards, Director Koch stood up and applauded. Everyone else also couldn't help but show their support as they cheered her on. Have you really never acted before? Even the assistant director, who didn't have high hopes for Tongning, asked with his eyes wide open. No. In that case, can you tell me how you did it? The assistant director was shocked. Tongning was a model and had never gone to any professional school. Yet, she was able to act like this on her first scene. It was worth noting that she and Yu Shanshan each had their own strengths. In fact, Tongning understood the details better than Yu Shanshan, and was more in line with the character in the script. As a first-time performer, she was able to get into character as she pleased and get out of character as she pleased. This. For those that had graduated from professional school for 4 years, yet still had a stiff expression on their faces after 7 to 8 years of acting, and had to say their lines out loud. How could they accept this? Tongning lowered her head and smiled. There was no special method. At that moment, I was her. After speaking, Tongning walked over to the front of the crowd. She had already spotted Mo Ting standing at the back of the crowd. The director and the audience were still in shock. At this time, Koch put down the things in his hands and walked over to Mo Ting to shake his hand. I dare say, acting is the most valuable thing you can discover from Tongning. Your achievements will definitely surpass her standing on the runway. Mo Ting stretched out his hand to shake Koch's hand. He then turned his head to look at Tongning and revealed a confident smile. It was like he was saying, "This is only natural. Don't you know whose wife she is?" In reality, Mo Ting's surprise was no less than the audience. After all, this was the first time he had seen Tongning act. He was used to seeing Tongning's confident and high-spirited attitude on the runway. But this time, there was light in his eyes, and it was a scorching light, acting. He saw a very different Tongning, a Tongning with a special meaning. Afterwards, in front of everyone, Mo Ting wrapped his arms around Tongning and placed a kiss on her hair. I knew nothing could stop you. At this time, the crew finally realized Mo Ting had also arrived on set. So they quickly behaved themselves. Tongning smiled at Mo Ting and extricated herself from his embrace. She then asked politely, "Didn't we agree that you guys would decide if I stayed or left? If you can maintain your acting standards, I would be willing to raise both my hands and legs." The assistant director was the first to speak, pointing at Tongning. Everyone laughed. In fact, they were thinking the same thing as the director. Although he had been slapped in the face by a model, he was surprised to find Tongning was quite interesting. She had never acted before, nor had she gone to a professional academy, but everyone could see her acting skills. No, that's not acting. You can feel that the person in the script has come to life. Everyone was curious as to how Tongning did it. So everyone on set raised their arms in agreement. Tongning looked at everyone with their hands raised and did not move. At this time, Mo Ting gently nudged her. Tongning returned to her senses and bowed to everyone. I did not take on stupid for fame or money. I simply wanted to fulfill the writer's wish. Plus, I don't need any pay. If there are any problems during the filming process, the director can ask me to leave at any time. To be honest, Tongning is very sincere. It's obvious she was dragged on to save the day. Compared to those that refused to act because of fans and left the entire crew to the side, she is much better. Fine, she has slapped me in the face. From now on, I don't dare to look down on models anymore. I hope she can always maintain this standard. Let's wait and see. Hearing the staff's discussion, Tongning realized the impact she had on everyone was a little too strong. Didn't this also prove her success? Long Jie jumped over to Tongning's side and hugged her tightly. Why is God so unfair? Not only did he give you a pair of long legs, he even gave you a talent for acting. In reality, Long Jie wasn't surprised by Tongning's performance at all. Don't forget, Tongning was the soul of the runway. She was always good at understanding what she wanted to show and the clothes she wanted to wear. Then, she would make the necessary adjustments. With the addition of her years of experience in front of cameras and her experience in positioning, acting wasn't a difficult task for her. To be able to produce such an effect was a relatively normal expectation. After all, she was too good at figuring things out. One scene is nothing special. There are still many more scenes to come. Only then will we be able to see the truth. Hey, I don't see Lin Sheng. Where is he? Long Jie looked around but did not see him. Did he really not come to watch Tongning's audition? Didn't that mean she would have to spend a lot of effort to convince the actor? Don't worry about him. I don't have any scenes with him. That's right, you are acting as his mother. Long Jie suddenly laughed evilly. Tongning shook her head helplessly and turned to look at Mo Ting. Didn't I say I wouldn't come? President Mo, you seem to have cheated. If I didn't come, how would I have known you were so talented in acting? Mo Ting held onto her hand as they boarded the car together. You have exceeded my expectations. But you don't look surprised at all. Actually, you knew a long time ago that acting wasn't as difficult for me as it was for a newbie. I've exposed myself too much in front of you. I'm good at disguising myself and I'm good at figuring things out. These are all qualities that make up an actress. Then do your best. Leave everything else to me. Tongning nodded her head. Thinking back to that moment when she had become someone else, she felt her blood boil. Although I joined the cast in secret, people will still find out that I didn't attend Fashion Week. I have my own arrangements. Let Long Jie accompany you for the next 2 days so you can familiarize yourself with the crew. If I were here, they will feel distant from me. Tongning was well aware that everything Mo Ting did, he had his own considerations and plans. I know. Also, you won't be so busy if I'm on set. Chapter 332. Mo Ting looked at Tongning seriously. He realized his reflection was very clear in her eyes. Mo Ting couldn't help but pull her into his embrace as he sighed. Don't only think about me. What should I do? This has already become a habit. Afterwards, she noticed people from the production crew walking in and out of the building. She pushed Mo Ting away and blushed. There are too many people here. Let's hurry back to the office. Mo Ting held onto Tongning's icy cold hands as he stepped out of the car and pulled out all the things he had brought to keep her warm from the boot. I will come visit you at any time. Tongning nodded her head. Every now and then, the crew would pass by and see the couple. They couldn't help but feel envious. Hey, don't you guys think the President Mo with Tongning is completely different from how he appears on the outside? Personally carrying things for his girlfriend? Is this still the ruthless and decisive big boss of the entertainment industry? I'm really envious. Don't talk, they're coming. A few people whispered amongst themselves in front of Tongning and Mo Ting. As Tongning walked past them, she smiled gently at them. This affinity, I'm convinced. She's better than you, Shanshan, who walks with her head held high. Plus, her smile is obviously sincere. Because of the audition and the small details, Tongning quickly integrated into the cast. Everyone thought that with her long legs, there would be a lot of taboos or that she would act delicate. But she was really just like an ordinary person. Although she was quiet, she did not make any requests that made things difficult for others. In fact, it could be said that she was afraid of troubling others. As Yu Shanshan's scenes were replaced, it slowed down the entire production. So Tongning and Lin Sheng's scenes began filming at the same time, and were then edited. Normally, after Lin Sheng's scenes were over, they would continue filming Tongning's scenes. Over the past 2 days, Tongning had been waiting for her scenes until the wee hours of the morning. After Tongning's audition, she won over the hearts of everyone on set. But only Lin Sheng did not have high hopes for her. However, the two had arrived at different times, so Tongning did not bump into Lin Sheng. Lin Ge, I heard that Tongning will be filming an important scene soon. Do Do you want to take a look? There were scenes of her rolling in the mud. Her delicate body should be. Lin Sheng lifted his head and glanced at his assistant without saying a word. In reality, over the past 2 days, he had heard a lot of opinions about Tongning's filming. But in his heart, he always felt that actors were actors and models were models. Everyone had their own roles. Changing careers would be irresponsible for what they were doing. So he never went to see Tongning act. But today the assistant mentioned, "Stay here." Lin Sheng closed the script and handed it to his assistant. In reality, he didn't care about Tongning's acting. He didn't like it anyway. But he had heard an interesting rumor. Tongning did not bring a script with her when filming. He wanted to see if Tongning was real. He was so powerful that everyone fought to praise him. Over the past 2 days, Yu Shanshan had been through a lot of controversy and pain. She had practically offended her fans, management agency and Hai Rui. So apart from siding with King, she had no other choice. The higher-ups of Star Art had already started to ignore her. It was obvious that they wanted to freeze her. Yu Shanshan was well aware of the damage that the strike had done to her. So she had no choice but to work with King. That quiet night, Yu Shanshan brought the script to meet with King at the hotel. But this time King appeared with Lin Chong. "What's wrong with you? How could you bring a paparazzi with you?" Yu Shanshan looked at Lin Chong with disgust. "Have you forgotten how stupid his actions were? It's all a misunderstanding. From now on, we are all in the same boat," King said as he adjusted his burgundy suit jacket. King tidied up his burgundy suit jacket and asked, "Did you bring it?" Yu Shanshan looked at Lin Chong cautiously, but still pulled out the script and placed it in front of King. King picked up the script with excitement in his eyes. The production cycle for a film is at least half a year. Let's take advantage of this time to film a drama and broadcast it at the same time. Of course, Lin Chong knew what the script Yu Shanshan brought was. After all, Stupid was a popular film at the moment. But he never expected that Yu Shanshan would have the guts to ignore Mo Ting and hand the script to King. Yu Shanshan did not look at King. Instead, she looked at Lin Chong. "I really don't understand. Why would he need a paparazzi like you? It seems you didn't succeed with what I asked you to do." "I've already paved the way for you and the fans have caused quite a ruckus. What happened in the end?" Lin Chong continued to lead the topic back to the fight between the fans. "That's enough," King interrupted. King interrupted the two of them with a dark expression on his face. "I went out of my way to hire an experienced anti-fan to write a hateful article, and even staged a fight to stir up trouble. I thought it was foolproof, but who would have thought that Mo Ting would be even more ruthless? No one can be blamed for this. Who told Mo Ting to be more ruthless?" Lin Chong glanced at Yu Shanshan, and did not say another word. "Right now, the shareholders of Hai Rui are treating me like a plague and trying to avoid me. Just thinking about it makes me angry." Isn't this because you want to seize power?" Yu Shanshan scoffed. Lin Chong did not say another word as he quietly switched off the camera hidden in his pocket. After the dinner ended, Yu Shanshan left first. Meanwhile, King looked at Lin Chong and said, "Lin Chong, you know why I kept you around, right? I hope you can take more photos that will be useful to me." "I'll try my best," Lin Chong replied in a low voice. King trusted Lin Chong. In reality, he trusted in Lin Chong's hatred towards Hai Rui, and believed that Lin Chong would never betray him. But after leaving the dinner, Lin Chong returned to the place he had found himself, and sent the evidence he had just recorded to Fang Yu. He also told him that the script for Stupid had been leaked. Fang Yu was surprised and felt emotional. Lin Chong had done so many despicable things. Who would have thought there would come a day when he would turn over a new leaf? After thinking for a moment, Fang Yu sent Lin Chong a message. "You can stop now. Safety is more important. Yu Shanshan has something on King." Fang Yu understood what Lin Chong meant. He wanted Mo Ting to get rid of King. "Go back to the studio. President Mo will handle the rest." Lin Chong did not reply, but Fang Yu promised, "Definitely." Lin Chong wasn't stupid. He directly told King that he had captured a piece of big news, and would be disappearing for a while. And King believed him. Chapter 333. Late at night, Fang Yu sent the evidence to Lu Che and Mo Ting. Lin Chong was indeed a professional paparazzi. In terms of filming techniques and angles, he perfectly exposed King and Yu Shanshan without leaving a trace. The contents of the video included Yu Shanshan handing the script to King, the truth behind the fight between the fans and King's attempt to seize power. Lu Che arrived at Hyatt Regency overnight to find out how Mo Ting would handle the situation. The madam has done another good job. After seeing the video, Lu Che couldn't help but sigh. Helping Lin Chong was a wise decision. It turned out, in this world, there really was something called repent. Although I can't help but hate Lin Chong, at least I don't hate the things he does. President, what should we do now? Edit the video into 3 parts. The script, the incident between the fans and the power grab. First, bring the video of the script to Yu Shanshan. Let's see if we can get more valuable information from her. Then, send the power grab part to all the shareholders and give them a copy, Mo Ting said without lifting his head. Mo Ting held onto the document and said without lifting his head, "As for the part about the fans, we will announce it at the end." Okay. Lu Che nodded his head. After all, based on King's actions so far, it wasn't enough to punish the tumor. So they needed to gather more evidence. But before that they couldn't release the video because it could put Lin Chong in danger. Luckily, everything was under Mo Ting's control. The president hasn't visited the madam over the past 2 days, has he? Lu Che guessed. Tongning had waited until dawn for 2 days in a row, yet he hadn't called to check on her. It seemed he was afraid of hurting her. I heard she's still waiting. Mo Ting lifted his head and looked at Lu Che deeply before closing the document in his hands. Lu Che's guess was right, he was indeed worried. After all, this wasn't a glamorous runway. For the sake of drama, actors had to make a lot of sacrifices. Most importantly, he knew, once Tongning got serious, she would disregard everything, including getting herself hurt, since he'd already heard. Then, what else could he say? Mo Ting looked at the time. It was 10 p.m. Even so, he still stood up and grabbed his car keys. Lu Che followed behind because he wanted to see his wife. By the time the couple arrived at the set, it was already 11 p.m. At this time, Tongning's scene had just begun. It was the 11th match. The content of the story was that when the actress was frozen, she chased after the car of the CEO of the agency, but ended up falling into the mud. This was probably the most dangerous scene. Coke asked Tongning to use a body double. As there was a close-up of her face, Tongning rejected Coke's suggestion. It's okay. Everyone looked at Tongning in shock as they looked at her long legs. She obviously didn't need to be so serious. Why did she insist on perfection? In fact, she could even use her relationship with Mo Ting to slack off. But no matter how dangerous the scene was, she insisted on doing it herself. From the start, she had clearly told everyone that she was only here to film. Even after the audition, there were still people who doubted him, but now, there was no one left. Lin Chong was also on set. He had just finished filming his swimming scene, and had just changed into his costume. He was planning to watch Tongning in action. However, seeing Tongning insisted on not using a stunt double, his lips suddenly curved upwards in ridicule. He had seen too many female celebrities do dangerous scenes for the first time. In order to save face, they agreed not to use a stunt double. But in reality, he refused to believe that Tongning, a model with legs that had just won the title of World's Most Beautiful Legs, wouldn't care at all. Just wait and see. You will definitely be shocked. Lin Cheng's assistant couldn't help but laugh as she sat beside him. Lin Cheng did not say a word. He simply took a sip of water and placed his gaze on Tongning. Action! The director yelled. A moment later, the set supervisor hit the clapboard. The third scene of the 11th scene had already begun. Tongning was wearing an off-the-shoulder gold miniskirt as she walked down the stairs. At this time, the boss's car was about to drive off. Tongning immediately pounced over, but she missed the car door and rolled to one side. Seeing this, Mo Ting felt a piercing pain in his eyes. Not long after, Tongning sat on the ground and threw her high heels at the car. Jerk! Afterwards, she hugged her knees and began to cry. As she cried, she cursed. Cut Tongning one more time, Coke said to Tongning. The makeup artist immediately retouched Tongning's makeup. Tongning quickly stood up and got into character. She once again completed the scene in a more immersive manner. Pass. Next scene. Lin Sheng and his assistant stood at the back. They were so shocked that they couldn't say a word. In that moment, he couldn't see any trace of Tongning at all. This was something that even Yu Shanshan's acting couldn't do. He felt the Tongning that was filming had completely transformed herself into the actress. It was a very strange feeling. Too strange. When it came to filming techniques, Tongning had no idea. She really didn't know how to do it. She simply treated herself as the actress. Everything she said and did, she followed her style. Most importantly, Tongning did not bring a script with her. Who would have thought? Lin Sheng's assistant couldn't help but sigh. Wait, isn't Tongning a model? Lin Sheng did not respond. After a while his assistant added, Actually, I heard that Tongning's audition scene was even more exciting. Lin Sheng lowered his head and looked at Tongning's legs covered in mud. But she did not have the delicate air of a typical actress. She was indeed different. Go find a video of her audition, Lin Sheng said after a moment of silence. Okay. Actually, Tongning relies on her talent and aura. This is her advantage. But the path of an actress is not only dependent on talent. If she was to act with someone else, she would immediately expose her flaws. Lin Sheng rarely commented on someone's acting. In other words, he no longer denied Tongning's abilities. His assistant did not say another word. Mo Ting had already walked over and knelt down in front of her. It seemed he was more concerned about her legs than she was about herself. Why are you here so late at night? Tongning was a little surprised. I'm regretting it right now, Mo Ting said as he stood up and held onto her hand. If I knew it would hurt so much. Tongning took the opportunity to jump onto his back. But I feel a sense of accomplishment. Whenever I think about how I will be able to see myself on the big screen in the future, that feeling is magical and makes me feel proud. President Mo. Ha. Mo Ting replied in a low voice. Should we announce our marriage on the day we finish filming? Tongning suddenly suggested. Chapter 334. Okay, we will announce our marriage on the day we finish filming. Plus, in front of me, you can do whatever you want. However, Mo Ting did not say this out loud. He simply hid it deep inside his heart. After returning to the hotel, Mo Ting immediately pulled Tongning into the bathroom. After washing away her tiredness, Mo Ting took the opportunity to wrap his arms around her. What time do you start filming tomorrow? 4 a.m. Tongning replied groggily. Mo Ting hugged her tightly as he breathed in her scent from between the strands of her hair. Tongning subconsciously snuggled into Mo Ting's embrace and pressed her face against his chest as she mumbled, I've missed you. I'm here, Tongning responded gently. She suddenly felt at ease as she closed her eyes and fell asleep. Meanwhile, Mo Ting slowly got up and carefully examined Tongning's leg to see if there were any injuries. The 2 rolls just now had caused his eyes to hurt. The next morning, Tongning woke up in bed. She subconsciously reached out her hand to check the spot next to her. She realized it was cold. Tongning immediately sat up. Not only was the sky bright, but Mo Ting was also standing by the window with a serious expression. Tongning lifted the blankets and walked over to Mo Ting. You didn't sleep all night? Are you angry? Mo Ting did not say a word, but Tongning could tell he was throwing a tantrum. Why? It seems I was wrong for not being able to make you value your body, Mo Ting replied after a moment of silence. It seems I need to buy insurance for your entire body. Tongning froze for a moment. She realized this man was so black-bellied that he knew she would feel guilty, yet he still used such a method to punish her. I've already thought about it. This is the only scene I need. I won't do it again, Tongning raised her hand and promised. But it's already 7 p.m., I have a scene at 4 p.m. Don't forget, I am your manager. I've already spoken to Coke and asked him to postpone filming until the afternoon. Plus, Lin Sheng has already said he doesn't mind meeting you. From now on you won't have to wait so long for filming at night. Am I using my job for personal gain? Emoting held her face helplessly. My heart aches. You can go watch Lin Sheng in the morning and learn a few things. How's the situation with Jaking? Don't ask me anything. Emoting didn't want her to know about any of the things that were bothering him, except for one thing. Lin Cheng has been completely subdued by you. When you have time, I will tell you in detail. Tongning nodded her head and headed to the set with Emoting. As soon as the staff on set saw Emoting, they all greeted him respectfully. In front of outsiders, Emoting was never one to smile. Because of his unapproachable demeanor, the crew kept a respectful distance from him. Even though he was now Tongning's boyfriend, he was still the CEO of Hai Rui. This was a fact that would never change. Lin Sheng was currently filming a scene where he was being scolded. Meanwhile, his father was forcing him to jump into the water. Lin Sheng was an idiot, so he stood at the edge of the pool with his body curled up. As he dodged clumsily, he waved his hands. In the end, he made a comical move as he ran towards a chair and hid his head under it while his body trembled in fear. It had to be said, Lin Sheng's acting made people forget that he was an actor. He was already in his 30s, yet he was able to portray a 16-year-old boy so well, especially when he looked at him with a frightened expression. Pass, the director ordered. Lin Sheng immediately stood up as his assistant pulled out a jacket and wrapped it around him. Lin Sheng wiped his face as he looked at Tongning, who was standing outside the pool. His gaze became deeper. Afterwards, he said to his assistant, "Tell Tongning to come over." "Yes. What's the matter?" The assistant was worried that Lin Sheng would cause trouble for her. After all, President Mo was still around. He was their financial backer, so they couldn't afford to offend him. "Tell her to come over," Lin Sheng said coldly. The assistant nodded his head repeatedly. "Don't be angry, I'll go get her right now." Afterwards, the assistant expressed Lin Sheng's intentions to Emoting. Emoting glanced at Lin Sheng and finally allowed Tongning to go over. Tongning was confused. This best actor had been biased against her from the start. What was the situation now? Afterwards, Lin Sheng walked over to his seat and handed Tongning a few textbooks on acting. "You are very intelligent and perceptive. I hope these will be of help to you." I hope there will be more and more actors, not more and more celebrities. We are the carriers of a story. I've seen this from you, so I acknowledge you. After speaking, Lin Sheng paused for a few seconds before he leaned back in his chair and continued. "Remember, I acknowledge your attitude, not your acting. When it comes to acting, you are still a long way off." "Thank you." Tongning smiled. "Go back. Otherwise, President Mo will think I'm going to eat you up." Tongning looked at Lin Sheng's expressionless face and turned around to leave. She knew this was how Lin Sheng handled things. He seemed to have an obsession with acting. In fact, it could even be described as an obsession. As a result, as long as there was a newcomer that was interested in acting, he was willing to help them. Tongning returned to Emoting's side. Emoting looked at the documents in her hands and patted her on the head. "You always have the ability to conquer people." "President Mo, I suddenly have a feeling that Stupid is going to be a huge hit. Just do your best." Emoting did not want to put too much pressure on her. That afternoon, Lu Che came looking for Yu Shanshan with evidence. Yu Shanshan was quite shocked. Hai Rui's revenge had already reached this point. They had practically destroyed her career. Wasn't that enough? Lu Che sat in his chair and narrowed his eyes. He then pulled out the video and showed it to Yu Shanshan. "Do you know how much this compensation fee is?" As soon as Yu Shanshan saw the video, her face turned pale. She immediately asked, "Where did you get this video from?" "Today, I came here to give you one last chance. Tell me, what deal did you have with Jaking?" Lu Che put away his phone and sat up straight. He was ready to listen to the story. Yu Shanshan's expression was unnatural. She seemed to be hesitating. "You must know, since we have this video, we must have even more exciting content in our hands," Lu Che explained. Yu Shanshan closed her eyes. She knew Emoting was about to make his move. "Jaking kidnapped my child." Lu Che's expression softened a little as he sat up straight and asked, "Do you have any evidence?" "I have a recording." "Call the police." Lu Che reminded without hesitation. Only the police can help you with this matter. Do you really expect Jaking to let your child go? Unless you die. For kidnapping, a light sentence is 5 years in prison and a heavy sentence is life in prison. Chapter 335. But if she were to call the police, then the fact that she was pregnant out of wedlock would be exposed. Yu Shanshan lowered her head and did not say a word. On one hand was her child, on the other was her acting career. She didn't want to lose either. Lu Che noticed her hesitation, so he explained, "There's no way President Mo will let Jaking off. Whether it's seizing power, framing Tongning or trying to remake a film, they are all within the president's bottom line. Yet he has stepped over them all. That's why I came looking for you today. I want you to hold on to the last bit of initiative, so you don't lose too badly." After speaking, Lu Che put away his phone and stood up. At this time, Yu Shanshan finally spoke up and held on to Lu Che. "I agree to call the police, but you need to guarantee that my child is fine. That is something the police should do. I can't promise you anything." Yu Shanshan moved her lips but did not say another word. But she did indeed arrive at the police station with her manager and handed over all the evidence. She also showed them the records of her child not being home for a long time, and evidence that she was missing from school. The police immediately filed a case and sent out the police to arrest the suspect, Jaking. At this time, Jaking was holding onto the script that Yu Shanshan had given him, and discussing his next film with a famous actor. Seeing a group of police officers barge into his home, he was stunned. But he continued to resist arrest. It didn't take long before news of Jaking being taken away by the police spread throughout the industry. Everyone began to speculate whether it was because of drugs. Afterwards, the higher-ups at Hai Rui released news that the incident that happened to Tongning was a self-scripted and self-directed act by Jaking to seize power. Not long after, a video of Jaking talking to anti-fans was released online. It clearly stated that he hired anti-fans to pretend to be Tongning's fans, and exposed the relationship between Tang fans and Yu fans. He also revealed that the fight that happened was self-scripted and self-directed by Jaking. In reality, the fans that were involved in the fight weren't actually Tongning's fans. The truth was finally revealed. Although the incident had already happened a few days ago, the netizens were still shocked when the truth was revealed. It seemed in the industry, everything could be used and everything could be used in exchange for benefits. Soon, a meticulous netizen discovered that Yu Shanshan was the one who reported the incident to the police. They followed the clues and discovered that she was pregnant out of wedlock, and that she was in cahoots with Jaking. In the end, she and Jaking ended up dead. This time, she was not criticized by the netizens, because she did it for the sake of her child. After being detained and interrogated, Jaking finally told them the truth about where he had hidden his child. Star Art decided to hold an official press conference to explain the entire incident to the public. This was the smartest way. Afterwards, it was said that Director Tseng visited Mo Ting's office, but Mo Ting refused to see him. He simply told Lu Che to tell Director Tseng, "I previously wanted to see you, but you refused to communicate. Now you only have yourself to blame." Chairman Tseng was filled with regret, so he decided to sell his shares in Hai Rui to save his son. But the matter had already gotten out of hand and involved so many reputable people. Was it possible for him to cheat? However, after the truth was revealed, the fans suddenly realized something strange. It had been a long time since they had seen Tongning. Fashion Week was about to begin. Why hadn't she done anything? Even He Jingjing had returned to Milan Fashion Week, but what about their idols? Fans began to leave comments on Mo Ting's homepage, but Mo Ting remained silent. Hey say, after Yu Shanshan was replaced, Hai Rui has not announced their next female lead. I heard the production team signed a confidentiality agreement. Do you think it could be our Tongning? Look, Yu Shanshan has been replaced and Tongning has gone missing. Yet, President Mo is going to work as usual. Don't you think it's suspicious? It can't be that Tongning has actually gone to act, right? I think it's highly possible. After all, no matter what Tongning does, I will support her, the fans commented. Since Tongning hasn't said anything, we won't ask. She always surprises us. That's right. Which artists would want to clear the grievances of their fans? Who would have thought that Tongning would still remember? Because of this, I will be her fan for life. I wonder what our Tongning is like when she acts. Don't tell me she's just a pretty face? Although I can't deny that Tongning is amazing on the runway, her acting. Ahem. What's wrong with Tongning acting? Can't Tongning act? The fans were in an uproar. Speaking of the film Stupid, although Jaking was arrested, the actor that he was negotiating with ended up stealing the script from his hands. Although Yu Shanshan made up the second half of the script, the main structure was not too different from Stupid. Afterwards, Mo Ting and Coke discussed the plot of Stupid. Should we make some changes? No need. Mo Ting replied straightforwardly. The version that Yu Shanshan leaked was not complete. Most importantly, I have faith in the entire production team. Not everyone can produce a perfect film. But if it is used by someone with ulterior motives and it is released before us, the audience will easily assume that we are plagiarizing. Creativity is the hardest thing to define. In that case, I have a suggestion, Tongning suddenly said to the two men. Publish a book. And get the copyright. That way, even if another film is released before us, it will simply be plagiarism. At that time, we can use this to demand compensation from the other party. Tongning's suggestion is indeed a good idea. Coke agreed. The script is already written, but it is still being polished. No matter how fast the film is, it will take at least 2 months to complete. If we turn the script into a novel, I'm sure it will be a huge hit. Mo Ting looked at Tongning without saying a word. Seeing Mo Ting hesitate, Tongning stretched out her hand and held onto his right hand comfortingly. For a film to become a classic, it is all because of the hard work of the people behind the scenes. If we are lacking a little bit here or there, then in the end it will fail because of what we are lacking. I want to know, who is the screenwriter? Coke asked after listening for a while. He felt this was a simple matter. Meanwhile, Tongning looked at Mo Ting with a smile and did not answer his question. Of course, Mo Ting had no intention of revealing this matter to the public. Trust me, Stupid will definitely be remembered by people. Even if it's a few years, 10 years or 20 years from now, it will still move people's hearts. In the end, Mo Ting had no choice but to nod his head. Just treat it as a wedding present from you. After all, we are about to announce our marriage, Tongning smiled. Coke clapped his hands and congratulated the couple. You two are the most compatible couple I've ever met. Chapter 336. Has Kathy been good lately? Tongning was suddenly reminded of the mischievous little rascal. Coke shook his head with a headache. I really can't do anything about her. When you become parents, you will understand. Tongning's face turned red as she turned to look at Mo Ting with a hint of anticipation. Mo Ting looked back at her. The couple immediately came to a mutual understanding. Originally, Mo Ting wanted to return to Hai Rui, because he had a lot of work to deal with. But he remembered Coke's words about becoming parents. After returning to the hotel, Tongning grabbed onto Mo Ting's wrist and asked, It's already so late, are you still going home? Mo Ting lowered his head and looked at Tongning as he gently stroked her hair. Were you moved by Coke's words today? Tongning pursed her lips and nodded her head. Can't you stay tonight to keep me company? Mo Ting had always agreed to Tongning's requests, so there was no need for her to ask him to stay with her. So he straightened his body, pulled out his phone and gave Lu Che a phone call, canceling all of the video conferences that were originally scheduled for that night. Tongning's heart warmed up. She knew how busy Mo Ting was. Since he had decided to leave, he must have made a lot of arrangements. But she wanted to be willful for once. Most importantly, Mo Ting allowed her to be willful, no matter the time and no matter what environment he was in. Seeing Mo Ting remove his jacket, Tongning quickly moved out of the way of the bed. Mo Ting took the opportunity to lie down on the bed, reach out his long arms and pull her into his embrace. Tell me, do you want a child? Tongning leaned against Mo Ting's chest and gently nodded her head. For a moment, I thought a family of 3 would be great. A loving father, a strict mother and a good baby. Mo Ting knew it would be perfect. In fact, he had fantasized about it countless times in his dreams. But Tongning was not even 27 years old yet. If she became a mother now, she would no longer have time for herself. So Emoting placed his hand on Tongning's forehead and placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. No, I haven't spoiled you enough. I was just saying. It's definitely not going to happen now. Tongning propped herself up and lay on top of Emoting's body. She gently bit open a button on his shirt. Emoting's ink-black eyes were suddenly filled with desire. Afterwards, he lifted Tongning's chin with one hand and kissed her passionately. It was not until they both found it hard to breathe that Emoting finally left her lips. He then whispered in her ear, I am very happy. Tongning's heart raced as she hugged Emoting without saying a word. She knew what Emoting was happy about. Most of the time, she respected and relied on Emoting. Even though she loved him deeply, there was still a tinge of rationality mixed in. But a moment ago, she had asked Emoting to stay. To relax because she wanted this man to stay by her side. Emoting hugged Tongning tightly. At this moment, he was so emotional that he couldn't control himself. The two burning hot bodies intertwined as they used their most primitive desires to express their desire for the other. However, just as Emoting pulled out the condoms prepared by the hotel, Tongning stretched out her hand to stop him as her cheeks blushed. Come in like this, it's safe. Ning, do you know what you're saying? For the sake of protecting her, Emoting had always restrained himself. In this aspect, he had always prioritized her body. Even when he was most excited, he did not leave a single mark on her body. But tonight, Tongning actually didn't stop him. Of course I know. I simply want to be with you. Emoting's eyes darkened. In the end, he grabbed onto her left hand and lifted it above her head. Tongning let out a soft moan as she lifted her head and anxiously sought a kiss. After they were done, Tongning leaned into Emoting's embrace to calm down. She then turned her head and asked, Did I create trouble for you? Huh. About the book, Tongning mentioned. You don't have much time. Did I make an immature suggestion? But did you know? I really want to see the name of the screenwriter on the final curtain call of my film. It's your name. Emoting did not respond. He simply checked Tongning's bedding to make sure there were no gaps. He then said to her, Hurry and go to sleep. You have scenes early tomorrow morning. Tongning let out a gentle grunt as she buried herself in Emoting's embrace and fell asleep. But she had no idea, this simple suggestion had led to their future marriage. After coaxing Tongning to sleep, Emoting got out of bed and used her laptop to write a few simple notes. Under the gentle lights on the wall, Emoting watched as Tongning slept peacefully. It was like the entire world was in his hands. After Jaking was arrested, Star Art issued an apology for the Yu Shanshan incident and announced that Yu Shanshan would be temporarily retreating from the industry. The incident with the fans slowly calmed down. However, the public continued to speculate that Tongning would be taking part in Stupid. Of course, the fans were happy to see this happen. After all, no matter what Tongning did, they would support her. But film fans expressed their dissatisfaction. Our country has so many talented actors. I don't think Hai Rui would be stupid enough to use Tongning. I've heard that Stupid is highly valued by Emoting. I hope he doesn't make the wrong decision. I don't want to suddenly see a model walk the runway in a film. You guys know what I mean. If Tongning is actually taking part in the film, then I'll have to say goodbye. I can't look forward to it anymore. It was obvious how high the expectations of film fans were. Even if it was a Hollywood blockbuster, in their eyes, there were still flaws that could be found. Because of this, Lu Che did a second round of research on the expectations of Stupid. He discovered that after mentioning Tongning, expectations kept dropping. President, we need to think of a way to salvage the situation, Lu Che said worriedly. Because of the madam's identity as a model, the words that the fans are saying about her are quite harsh. We are still in the early stages. Let them spread the word. Emoting replied without lifting his head as he focused on the computer screen. I don't understand. You don't need to understand. Emoting's voice turned colder. What President Mo is trying to say is, it doesn't matter if we let them make wild guesses. They just need to prepare themselves for the worst. Only then, when the film is released, will they realize how amazing Tongning is. Fang Yu knocked on Mo Ting's office door with a report in hand. Fang Yu held on to a report as he knocked on the door. He then replied to Lu Che's question. Film fans think they know a lot about films, so they are very picky about actors acting. It's like when someone owes you a sum of money and you're prepared for the worst, but in the end, they pay you back double. That kind of surprise. Do you understand? When the time comes, even if Tongning has flaws, they won't criticize her on a large scale. They will simply think, she exceeded their expectations. Chapter 337. No wonder Lu Che was able to come up with a solution. Afterwards, he stared at the two men in the office. Indeed, people that knew how to do PR were different. At the beginning of February, the autumn/winter fashion week officially began. However, Tongning did not appear on the runway. This made fans even more certain that Tongning was on set of Stupid, and that she had changed her profession to an actress. However, the production crew did not allow fans to visit them on set. So the main actors suffered because no matter where they went, they would always be asked about the female lead. Especially Lin Sheng. Whenever he attended an event or went on an interview, he would always be asked if Tongning was the female lead. Everyone knew that Lin Sheng would never lie. Plus, everyone knew that when Lin Sheng took on a role, apart from looking at the script, he also looked at the supporting actor. If the supporting actor was someone without any acting skills, he would never take on the role. But this time, why didn't he say anything? Today the best actor, Lin Sheng, will be attending the New Edge Film Festival as a guest presenter. According to sources, Lin Sheng is currently filming Stupid. Not too long ago, the cast of Stupid was recently replaced. The netizens are all guessing that the female lead is the missing Tongning. I wonder what the best actor has to say about this. Xingge, can you tell us a little about the female lead of Stupid? Xingge, say a few words. Lin Sheng was surrounded by reporters as soon as he finished his awards ceremony. Out of respect, he stopped in his tracks and faced the cameras. Regarding the female lead, I have nothing to say. Is that Tongning? Is she or isn't she? Lin Sheng suddenly thought of Tongning. After interacting with her for over 10 days, he couldn't deny that he had a new opinion of her. Although she was indeed a newcomer in the film industry, she did not accept Stupid because she overestimated herself. She had a certain level of understanding towards herself. Plus, when filming, she never acted like a big shot or threw a tantrum. As long as he felt Tongning could do better, even if it was a scene that had already been shot, she would still ask the director to redo it. In fact, her attitude towards filming was even more serious than his. He really couldn't find anything wrong with an artist like this. Although he was previously unhappy with Tongning, Lin Sheng now treated her as his disciple. But she wasn't stupid. In fact, he was extremely intelligent. So, in front of the camera, Lin Sheng had the urge to praise someone. What was going on? Lin Sheng hesitated for a moment before replying. Sorry, I have signed a confidentiality agreement. Please wait for an official response. Besides, I've said more than once that I won't work with someone who can't act. This sentence had two meanings. 1. The female lead wasn't Tongning. 2. Tongning had acting skills. But as a model, Tongning had never acted in any film or television before. To suddenly have acting skills, it didn't seem realistic, right? So the media assumed that Lin Sheng was hinting that Tongning wasn't the female lead. After hearing this, Lin Fen immediately patted her chest and let out a sigh of relief. Oh, I was afraid that the supermodel would drag our Sheng Xing down. I'm relieved to hear this. I'm a first-rate actor. Please don't put me in the same category as a supermodel. Have faith in Xingge. I'm looking forward to the film. Stupid was a hot topic in the film industry. From the moment filming began, it was filled with all sorts of unsolved mysteries. Unfortunately, Mo Ting was extremely good at PR. Now that Stupid was being filmed in a closed environment, not even a fly could enter, let alone a human. After returning to the set, Lin Sheng took advantage of his free time to show Tongning the comments. But faced with all the insults, Tongning simply smiled. If it was me, I would have scolded you even worse. It seems you've never tried to defend yourself. Lin Xing put away his phone and looked at Tongning. Anyone can say beautiful words, but only beautiful actions can win people's hearts. Plus, because I don't want to live a complicated life, I don't care about fame and fortune. I simply want to be responsible for the people I care about, and the things I like to do, Tongning smiled. If I truly care about them, then they will be satisfied. Lin Sheng gave a slight smile and gave a rare compliment. You have a good understanding of this industry. Thank you, Shengge, for teaching me acting. I don't think I'll have a chance with this film, but I'm looking forward to acting with you in your next film. I'm sure it'll be fun to act with someone as serious as you, Lin Sheng said. Afterwards, he stood up. Another scene was about to begin. Tongning watched as Lin Sheng acted. She didn't tell him that the only reason she was working so hard was because stupid was Mo Ting's blood and sweat. Her love for Mo Ting extended to the point where she had to personally protect the film. It was currently the beginning of February. Her scenes would be officially completed by the end of February. In reality, most people would be able to complete over 100 scenes in a few days or even 10 days. But because Tongning was serious, there were many times when she would have to repeat a scene multiple times. During her free time, Tongning received a phone call from Hu Jingjing. What's wrong with you? Aren't you going to attend Fashion Week? This is the most important opportunity in your career. I won't be attending this year. Tongning replied. Don't tell me you're actually going to act in a film. Aha, I'm going to act in a film, Tongning replied without hiding anything. Do you know how many rising stars have appeared in this Fashion Week? I can't believe you're going to start all over again. Let me tell you, if your film flops, I'm not going to help you, Hu Jingjing said angrily. It wasn't easy for Tongning to get to where she was today. Fashion Week was the most important opportunity for her to raise her value. Yet she was going to give up on it. What about all the insults and schemes she had endured in the past? Why did you insist on acting in this film? Can you tell me the reason? Don't tell me you went because President Mo asked you to. Really? Hu Jingjing understood what Tongning's silence meant. After a moment of silence, she finally asked, although I don't know why you had to give up on your successful career to support him, if he dares to do anything wrong to you, I will. Tongning let out a gentle laugh. You're still smiling? Who knows if anyone will remember your name after this Fashion Week? Don't you know what you're giving up? Li Xiqing said with a smile on his face. Don't you regret it at all? Regret? Feng Gu is about to get married. I will return to attend the wedding and interrogate you when the time comes. Chapter 338. Tongning responded with a gentle okay, as she hung up the phone and quietly waited for her scene to unfold. However, during this time, Tongning took out her phone and browsed through the various fashion shows. Long Jie was sitting to one side talking to Lu Che on the phone. Seeing Tongning flipping through the news, she couldn't help but feel a little moved. If she hadn't chosen to film, Tongning would have been a huge hit at Fashion Week. Afterwards, she would have easily taken the Victoria's Secret runway. Afterwards, Long Jie took a photo of Tongning's back and sent it to Mo Ting. Boss, how could you be so heartless? Seeing the photo, Mo Ting's heart skipped a beat. However, he did not reply to Long Jie because this was a matter between him and Tongning. How could he let Tongning give up on her position as a supermodel? Fashion Week was important, but as Tongning's manager, if he couldn't take care of Tongning's future, would he still be considered a qualified manager? However, there were some things that outsiders didn't need to know. Even so, his heart still ached. After work, he immediately grabbed his car keys and rushed to the set. Over the past few days, the staff on set had long gotten used to Mo Ting's appearance, even though they still felt pressured no matter how many times they saw their male god. Hello, President Mo. Tongning is in the waiting room. Hearing the staff's reminder, Mo Ting rushed over to the waiting room. Seeing the makeup artist drawing out bruises and hickeys on her body, he immediately understood that Tongning would be filming a bed scene. Tongning lifted her head to see Mo Ting. She subconsciously tried to cover her back, but Mo Ting held her back. You've seen everything. I'm preparing for the bed scene tonight, Tongning said awkwardly. Mo Ting stood behind her and leaned over to whisper in her ear. Even I have never left marks on your body like this. Looking at you like this, I feel a little jealous. President Mo. How about we make it look real? The makeup artist suggested boldly. It would be more realistic. Is that a good idea? Tongning's cheeks flushed red. Get out. Mo Ting straightened his body and did not say anything else. After the makeup artist left, he hugged Tongning and said, "The marks on your body were definitely left by me." After speaking, he sat down on a chair and carried Tongning onto his lap. Feeling a chill, Tongning let out a gasp. At this time, Mo Ting had already placed his body on top of hers and was sucking hard. Satisfied with the effect he had created, Mo Ting helped Tongning put on the clothes and wrapped his arm around her. Be quiet for a moment and don't move around. Otherwise, I can't guarantee I won't do anything. Tongning leaned on Mo Ting's body as her cheeks flushed red. Aha! Do you feel bad about missing out on Fashion Week? Mo Ting asked gently as he placed his chin on top of Tongning's head. A little. Tongning didn't expect Mo Ting to care so much about her feelings, so she could only answer honestly. Did you think I'd let a superstar fall? Mo Ting asked with a smile. I won't let my woman sacrifice herself for me in vain. But I've never seen it as a sacrifice, Tongning said in seriousness. The couple hugged each other warmly. A moment later, Mo Ting calmed down and the makeup artist returned to the waiting room. However, she was certain that the marks on Tongning's body no longer required her makeup skills. That night, when the bed scene began, Mo Ting was sitting on set. As soon as the male actor opposite Tongning thought about the cold-faced Buddha sitting outside, he couldn't let go of his hands and feet. After a few NGs, would kissing the woman of the big boss of the entertainment industry cause him to be in trouble? In the end, the actor directly asked the director, "Can we use a fake position?" Coke glanced at Mo Ting and nodded his head, "Sure. Please get ready." Seeing Mo Ting's actions, Tongning couldn't help but laugh. The almighty President Mo was always unbearable when he was two-faced. In the end, the bed scene completely relied on a fake position and editing. But the most surprising thing was the marks on Tongning's body. The staff all complimented the makeup artist for her improvement. The makeup artist looked at him helplessly. She really wanted to tell everyone the truth. But with the cold-faced President Mo still sitting outside, she decided it was best not to say a word. After the night scene was over, Tongning and Mo Ting returned to the hotel. After Tongning finished washing up, Mo Ting said to her, "In 2 days' time, Yufeng will be getting married. We need to attend. I've already applied for leave for you." As an evergreen in the music industry, Yufeng and his girlfriend had been together for over 10 years. Now that they were finally together, it was a big deal for the entertainment industry. But on that day, the media will definitely ask me why I didn't attend Fashion Week, Tongning said to Mo Ting. Mo Ting stretched out his arms and pulled her into his embrace. He then looked into her eyes and replied, "Leave everything to me, okay? I'll leave everything to you." During this period of time, due to the popularity of Fashion Week, a new rising star from the East caused a sensation in Western Europe. It was a newcomer from Chengtian. It seemed, Lan Shi had indeed recovered and was focusing on the right path. However, the entire modeling industry felt sorry for Tongning. With such a good opportunity to rise, did she not want to become an international supermodel? Most importantly, this rising model had unknowingly become a huge threat to Tongning. After all, the media always compared the two of them. Above all, the industry was changing too quickly, and there were too many rising stars. Some people began to speculate that this rising star would create a new storm, and Tongning would die during her transition. Fans also began to panic as they left messages for Mo Ting. Where did he hide Tongning? Was she filming? He didn't even give an explanation. Now a newcomer was knocking on her door. This newcomer was called Ling Zi. After seeing the gossip, Tongning felt it was ridiculous. It was normal for newcomers to suddenly appear. She wasn't even worried. Yet the reporters were worrying about her. "Stop looking. I feel boss must have his reasons for hiding you." I refuse to believe he would destroy you for his own selfish reasons, Long Jie said as she ate her dessert. She couldn't help but scoff at the news. However, I heard this newcomer will also be attending Yu Feng's wedding. Plus, I think you will run into Lan Shi again. It will be an exciting scene. After all, didn't Lan Shi like boss in the past? This time, you can teach her how she feels. Good idea. Tongning felt Long Jie was not going to waste her time. So what if there was a newcomer? After all, the miracles she had created could not be replicated. A newcomer that had only appeared at Fashion Week couldn't compete with her. Plus, she was currently at Hai Rui. Even if she admitted defeat, the people at Hai Rui wouldn't let her admit defeat. Don't worry on that day, your power will definitely return, Long Jie promised in seriousness after finishing her dessert. Chapter 339. While Tongning was filming, singing God Yufeng was about to get married and a new star in the modeling world, Ling Zi, was about to appear. This made N sigh. The entertainment industry seemed to be lacking someone, yet it was still lively and full of gossip. Plus, Lan Shi's methods had never been weak. As soon as Ling Zi became famous, Lan Shi struck while the iron was hot and created a lot of hot news for her. Of course, no matter how brave she was, she didn't dare to casually drag Tongning onto the stage. The only people that would compare Tongning to Ling Zi were the sensationalist media. Even Star King was kneeling in front of Hai Rui, let alone the heavily injured Cheng Tian. Above all, she had witnessed Tongning's methods before. Whenever she thought about it, she would still feel a lingering fear. Of course, she couldn't understand why Tongning didn't attend Fashion Week at such a crucial time. If she was there, Ling Zi would have nothing to do with it. 2 days later, after Tongning finished her morning shoot, she immediately returned to Hyatt Regency with Long Jie. Mo Ting had already prepared a private outfit for her, and was about to rush to the airport. Seeing the extravagant outfit Mo Ting had prepared for her, Tongning subconsciously looked at the man with a questioning gaze. After keeping a low profile for so many days, it's time to let others know what popularity means, Mo Ting said as he sat on the sofa. It turned out, it was because of the new model that was currently popular. So this time's schedule is open to the public? Tongning guessed. Of course. Long Jie hurriedly replied as her eyes narrowed into slits. Every time she followed Mo Ting, he would arrange a face-slapping trip for her. This time, it was likely it would be no exception. Tongning nodded her head and returned to her room to change. After packing up for a while, the group left Beijing together. If it wasn't for the fact that someone was trying to step on Tongning, she wouldn't even need Long Jie and Lu Che to accompany her to a wedding. But someone was taking advantage of this opportunity to bully Tongning? Haha, were they dreaming? Yufeng had been in the music industry for many years and had accumulated a lot of connections. So, for his wedding, he had invited over half of the entertainment industry. Beijing Airport almost came to a standstill because there were too many big names involved. Mo Ting had already released the news that Tongning would be attending. So in order to relieve the pain of missing her, fans gathered at the entrance of the airport early in the morning. In particular, fans of Tongning and Mo Ting were waiting at the airport in order to see the loving couple. In fact, many fans were even holding up placards and banners. At this time, Lan Shi and Ling Zi had just arrived at the airport. However, as Ling Zi had just become famous, she did not have any loyal fans. So, when she and Lan Shi entered the departure lounge, they did not receive much of a reaction. Only a few passers-by recognized her. After all, Ling Zi was still young. Seeing such a scene with so few fans, she naturally felt uncomfortable. Lan Shi seemed to read her mind as she patted her on the shoulder. One day, you will become a superstar. Ling Zi nodded her head, but because she was wearing sunglasses, Lan Shi couldn't see her true expression. So, Lan Shi didn't care too much about a girl's vanity. Not long after, screams could be heard from the departure hall. Lan Shi and Ling Zi, who were walking in front, thought it was a singer or actress. However, from the crowd of fans, cries for Tongning could be heard. Tongning. Tongning's legs are so beautiful. Tongning, have you gotten skinnier? Under Mo Ting's protection, Tongning continued to move forward. Longjie and Luce followed behind them with their luggage. Fans followed on both sides, continuously handing Tongning gifts and asking for autographs. Most importantly, they were asking about how she was doing. Needless to say, this was a very strange scene. Tongning had a background as a model, but her popularity was no less than that of a movie star or singer. In fact, her fans could be found all over the world. From this, it was clear to see that Tongning had accumulated a lot along the way. Tongning, can you tell us, are you filming? Tell us in secret. A fan asked coquettishly. Tongning didn't walk too quickly. Hearing her fan's question, she pointed to her left and said, "Ask him." The fans couldn't help but place their gaze on Emoting as they shivered. "I wouldn't dare." Tongning let out a gentle laugh as she lowered her head and said something in Emoting's arms. Afterwards, she replied to her fan. "President Emo said that when the time comes, you will be the first to know. When there's good news, the first person to know will be my dearest fan." After speaking, Tongning stretched out her hand and patted the fan on the head. The fan was so happy that she almost fainted. "Tongning, we will love you forever. Good girl, you have good taste." After Tongning responded, she stopped at the security checkpoint to give her fan an autograph. "Can you ask President Emo to sign it too?" the fan begged. Tongning put down her pen and turned to look at Emoting. Emoting hesitated for a moment. It wasn't appropriate for him to give up his seat, so he hugged Tongning from behind and held on to her hand as he signed his name on the fan's notebook. Oh God, they're giving out sweets. The couple are giving out sweets. The airport was filled with screams. The couple seemed to have caused quite a commotion at the airport. This made Lan Shi, who was carrying Ling Zi, feel like she had been slapped across the face by Emoting. Why did Emoting and Tongning leave at this time? Was it really a coincidence? Or did Emoting purposely arrange this because of the comparison from before? Most importantly, they were on the same flight. Luckily, not many people recognized Ling Zi. Otherwise, as soon as Tongning appeared, the comparison would be too obvious. Afterwards, netizens discovered Lan Shi and discovered that Ling Zi had also left Beijing at the same time. But looking at her photo and then looking at Tongning's, as the saying goes, if there's no comparison, there's no harm. Although Tongning had disappeared for almost a month and Ling Zi's meteoric rise, the two had never appeared in the same frame. Now that they were compared, they realized no matter what, Tongning still beat Ling Zi. Her aura, figure, taste in clothes, and most importantly, the man that was always by her side. Previously, I was worried that Ling Zi would steal our Tongning's limelight. But from what I've seen today, all my worries have disappeared. The difference is too big, okay? I thought everyone had forgotten about Tongning. Who would have thought? She has so many diehard fans, haha. Our Tongning has simply been hidden away by Emoting. To be honest, Tongning has been through so much. How could a small-time model compare? Rest in peace. Chapter 340. From the fans' arrival at the airport, everyone could see the difference between Tongning and Ling Zi. Some news could indeed be exaggerated, but when it really appeared, anyone with a discerning eye would be able to tell the difference between popularity and strength at a glance. Before boarding the plane, Longjie spotted Lan Shi and Ling Zi in the VIP lounge. She approached Tongning and lowered her head. "Do you want to go over and say hello?" That newcomer model is following beside Lan Shi. It's obvious Lan Shi values her. "There's no need," Tongning replied straightforwardly. Longjie had already forgotten about being forced to kneel down, but Tongning was going to remember it for the rest of her life. Actually, Longjie didn't forget. She simply didn't want to burden Tongning, so she pretended to be relaxed. Longjie nodded her head and whispered into Tongning's ear. "Boss is becoming more and more black-bellied. Is this the first day you've met him?" In reality, Ling Zi wanted to use Tongning to increase her own popularity, and Tongning, of course, wanted to use her to prove her own status. Coincidentally, filming had been quiet for a few days. Was there no room for Tongning in the modeling industry? If she was at another agency, perhaps that would be the case. But didn't they know who was backing Tongning up? Lan Shi naturally noticed Tongning and Long Jia. Most importantly, by Tongning's side was the king that she didn't dare to look at. I simply stole a few top brands from Tongning's hands. Why can't Hai Rui admit it? Ling Ziyi said angrily. Don't say that if Tongning appeared at Fashion Week, I would have nothing to do with it. The truth is Tongning gave up on Fashion Week. With your current status, you still can't be compared to Tongning. Endure it, Lan Shi comforted. She got to where she is today by enduring it. But let's not talk about it. Feng Ji's wedding will be attended by people from all over the world. Make good use of this opportunity and you will soon catch up to Tongning. Even though Lan Shi couldn't understand why Tongning would give up on Fashion Week. She never believed the rumors that were circulating. Tongning's mind was clear. Others might not know, but she knew. Mo Ting was probably holding back his trump card. So, it was best she didn't provoke him in case she got slapped in the face again. After all, Luo Hao's incident had only just passed. Hu Jingjing and Fang Yu had arrived earlier than Tongning. As soon as they arrived at the hotel, Hu Jingjing couldn't help but hug Tongning and pull her into the bedroom to whisper sweet nothings. Ling Zi is also attending Fashion Week. What are you going to do tonight? The media will definitely come after you. What can we do? It's a fact that I didn't go. Tang Ning smiled, her face as calm as ever. However, I just saw the entertainment news. You and President Mo's appearance caused quite a commotion. I think I'm starting to understand what President Mo is trying to do. Besides, even if the movie flops, you still have me. Hearing this, Tongning took it to heart. She opened her eyes wide and glared at her. You're the one who's going to lose. But you used to be a model. Look at me. If you asked me to act, I would only be able to act as a corpse. In fact, I would have to lie on the ground and die, Hu Jingjing questioned. If you were in my shoes. Hu Jingjing couldn't be blamed for not believing that Tongning had acting skills. If others hadn't witnessed it with their own eyes, not many would have believed that Tongning had such talent. Tongning did not argue. She simply smiled. After all, in the end, time would prove who was right. As there was still some time before the wedding, the men were in the study room discussing business, while the women sat in the living room watching a movie to kill time. Suddenly, Long Jia suddenly jumped up from the sofa, pulled out her phone and showed it to Hu Jingjing like she was showing off a treasure. Do you want to watch Tongning's audition? It's going to be spectacular. Audition? Hu Jingjing put down the glass of wine in her hand and received the video from Long Jia. Aha, didn't Tongning join the cast out of nowhere? Not a single person on set liked her, especially the best actor, Lin Sheng. So Tongning arrogantly told the director that she wanted to audition and let the cast and crew be the judges. If anyone felt her acting wasn't good enough, they could ask her to leave. Hu Jingjing was surprised, but she wasn't too surprised. After all, this seemed like something Tongning would do to slap people in the face. But, acting? Hu Jingjing curiously opened the video on Long Jia's phone. A moment later, she saw the scene where Tongning found out she was pregnant during her audition. Tongning did not join the shocked couple. She simply looked at the rain outside and felt it wasn't the right weather for a wedding. Hu Jingjing didn't know how she finished watching the short few minutes. After putting down her phone, she simply had one thought. If I was President Mo, I would also let you act. Who would care about the runway? I always thought you were talented at the runway, but after watching you act, I realized the runway can be treated as a side job. No objections. Tongning asked as she glanced at the excited Hu Jingjing. After walking the runway for so many years, I'm sure you're well aware that in this industry, it's all about youth. Nowadays, there are more and more outstanding models and the competition is getting more and more intense. By the time we reach 30, no one in the industry will still remember us. Hu Jingjing sighed as she supported her head with one hand and drank a glass of wine. But actors are different. Actors have their own works. Actors have left a legacy for the world. Plus, from the looks of it, President Mo wants to turn you into a best actress. When that time comes, the difference in status between us will be huge. So let the public say what they want. What's wrong with giving up on Fashion Week? It's all about acting. When your film is released, you will definitely shock everyone. Just like how I was shocked by you. These were Hua Jingjing's heartfelt words. She was truly shocked by Tongning. Originally, she thought Tongning was on the same level as her. Who would have thought, when people compared themselves, there was indeed a difference? That's not something I can control. Tongning did not continue the topic. Instead, she changed the topic to Yufeng's wedding. It seems a lot of people have been getting married recently. Are you jealous? Hua Jingjing laughed. You and President Mo have been married for a long time. Is there a need to be jealous of others? Ting and I have decided to announce our marriage after we finish filming. Tongning suddenly said to the two women in seriousness. Speaking of which, how did the two of you get married in the first place? I've never heard you mention it. Hua Jingjing was curious. In reality, when Tongning thought about the day of her wedding, she still felt it was a little surreal. So she slowly curved her lips upwards. On the day of our wedding, we only met for the second time. The first time we met was at a party. That day, I directly stopped him and asked if we could fake our marriage. Afterwards, he agreed. Half an hour later, we registered our marriage. Chapter 341. 2:30 p.m. Yu Feng held his wedding ceremony at Como Hotel. Inside the luxurious Gothic cathedral, all the VIPs watched from below the stage. During this time, Ling Ziyi sat on Tongning's left. Every now and then, she would look at her with hatred and hostility. However, Tongning had a smile on her face the entire time. From start to finish, she was under Mo Ting's protection. After the wedding ceremony, it was time for the couple to express their gratitude. An event like this was naturally a time for managers to bring their own artists to look for collaborations and resources. Actresses like Tongning and Hua Jingjing naturally didn't need to care about other people. But, because Tongning didn't appear at Fashion Week, she became the hot topic of discussion among the models. And because she might have appeared in Stupid, she became the hot topic of discussion among the actors. Of course, there was also talk about how to hook up with the big boss of the entertainment industry. It seemed, no matter where she went, she was the hot topic of discussion. Inside the European-style ballroom with a fountain, Mo Ting wrapped his arm around Tongning's waist as they weaved through the guests. However, a moment later, Mo Ting pulled out his phone and said, "I need to take an important call." Tongning nodded her head. Dressed in a white strapless dress, she held onto her handbag as she waited at the entrance. At this time, a man and a woman in their 50s entered the ballroom, supporting a 70-something-year-old man. As soon as she saw the middle-aged woman, Tongning was stunned. This woman was none other than Han Yufan's mother, who was married to a famous director. She never expected to see her at an event like this. Tongning gently nodded her head at the woman, but the woman did not seem to appreciate her gesture. Mother Han looked at Tongning coldly and said to her husband, "I just saw a disgusting person." "What happened?" "That's the model that harmed my son, and ended up climbing up the social ladder." Mother Han pointed to Tongning with her chin as she explained to the old man and her husband, "Enemies really do cross paths. Do you want me to help you get back at her?" "Not at the moment. Let's give Yu Feng some face." Mother Han scoffed as she stopped her husband from doing anything. Actually, it was understandable that Mother Han hated Tongning. After all, Han Yufan's current situation was all thanks to Tongning. Tongning also felt uncomfortable. She hated events like this because she kept bumping into people she didn't want to see. Seeing Mo Ting wasn't around, Lan Shi, dressed in a black suit, approached Tongning. She grabbed 2 glasses of champagne from a waiter's tray and handed one to Tongning. "Have a drink." "I thought there was no need to be so polite between us." Tongning received the bottle of champagne and placed it back on the waiter's tray. Lan Shi laughed at herself and shrugged her shoulders. "I only have one question for you. When did you and Mo Ting start dating?" Tongning covered the light in her eyes with her thick eyelashes and replied calmly, "It seems that you really want to make yourself a joke. In other people's eyes, aren't you also a joke?" Lan Shi's lips curved into a cold smile. "Don't you know? No matter how many blessings you get from your fans, the people in the industry still don't think highly of you? Tongning continued to listen but did not respond. Now that you have emoting to protect you, no one would dare to touch you. But you need to cherish what you have now. Who knows, when you wake up, you might be back to where you started. After speaking, Lan downed the glass of champagne in one gulp. She then took one last glance at Tongning before turning to leave. Don't think highly of me. Hearing these 3 words, Tongning felt a chill run down her spine. However, a moment later, Tongning returned to a calm smile. Whether they thought highly of me or not, I was already Emoting's wife. Tongning lowered her head to calm herself down. She then noticed Wuxia approaching her. The president needs to make a few phone calls, so he asked me to introduce the madam to a few important partners in Hairue. Must I? Tongning didn't like the atmosphere in the room. She knew there were a lot of people here that were judging her and pointing at her. Relax. Wuxia shrugged his shoulders and handed a glass of champagne to Tongning. Let's go. From directors, producers, business partners and other successful people, Tongning met quite a few people this time. In the end, Wuxia brought her over to Mother Han and introduced her with a smile. This is Mr. Zhang Qingping, the honorary president of the Film Association. He is also a top actor and director, and a regular judge for the Fei Tian Awards. It turned out Wuxia wanted to introduce the old man to Tongning. Mother Han and her husband sat on either side of the old man. As soon as they saw Tongning, their expressions did not look too good. Tongning ignored the two as she held onto her glass and said politely to Mr. Zhang, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Zhang. I've heard a lot about you. Allow me to propose a toast to you." The old man glanced at Tongning but did not respond. After quite some time he finally said, "A mere model doesn't have the right to drink with me." The old man's words were firm and forceful, causing the entire hall to fall silent. Everyone turned to look at the old man. After observing the situation, they suddenly felt pity for Tongning. Actually, it was understandable. Zhang Qingping was an artist from the older generation, and Mother Han was his goddaughter. Knowing that his god-grandson had been ruined by Tongning, it was only natural for him to find a way to vent his anger. Tongning's glass remained suspended in midair. At this moment, the atmosphere was extremely awkward. Tongning had been in the limelight for so long because of emoting. Perhaps, it had been a long time since anyone dared to look down on her. Who would have thought at such a grand event, she would embarrass herself in such a way? Let's see if she can continue to be arrogant. Most importantly, what about emoting's attitude? Tongning held onto her glass without getting angry. Just as she was about to pull it back, someone grabbed the glass in her hand and asked, "Am I qualified?" The old man lifted his head and discovered the person standing beside Tongning was emoting. She represents me. If she doesn't have the right, then no one else here has the right to drink with Mr. Zhang. The old man's expression changed as he looked at Emoting unhappily. "Emoting, I am considered your elder." Mr. Zhang is, at most, an elder that bullies the younger generation. Emoting replied straightforwardly. "Is there a need for you to speak to me like this because of a model? A model like this isn't anything special, but she happens to work for me. She represents my identity. If anyone tries to look down on her, they're looking down on me. Even if it's you, Mr. Zhang, I will not go easy on them." After speaking, Emoting wrapped his arm around Tongning's waist and turned around. However, as he walked away he said, "Since you are a filmmaker, you should focus on film-related matters." What he meant was, don't you get involved in my business. As for my people, don't you dare mess with them. Chapter 342. What happened? Emoting asked as they walked to a less crowded area. Tongning gripped onto the corner of Emoting's shirt as she replied with a complicated expression. It seems he wanted to help Han Yufan get back at him. Director Zheng's wife is Han Yufan's mother. It's obvious they have a good relationship with Elder Zhang. Above all, with her status, it was normal for her to receive this kind of treatment at an event like this. In the end, it was because her foundation wasn't stable and she couldn't produce any respectable work. Emoting carefully looked into Tongning's eyes. He then grabbed onto her right hand and said, "Hold on tight." Tongning lowered her head and looked at their intertwined hands. Her heart finally relaxed. Returning to the ballroom, the way everyone looked at Tongning changed once again. In reality, Emoting had already been extremely protective of Tongning, both in the open and in the shadows. However, this was the first time he had done it at such a grand event. Previously, he was announcing her identity. Now he was announcing her status. Tongning watched as Emoting spoke confidently with the others, watched as he avoided the easy questions and countered the sharp questions of others. At this moment, her grip on Emoting's hand tightened. In this cold and emotionless industry, in this self-interested industry, there was someone like this who would always hold on to her hand in the dark, shielding her from the wind and giving her direction. She felt, even if Emoting wanted her life, she would not hesitate to do so. Feeling his fingers had turned white from Tongning's grip, Emoting looked down at their hands and whispered in her ear, "How hard are you holding on to me?" At this moment, the two were standing right next to the fountain in the ballroom. Tongning leaned against Emoting's shoulder and said in a raspy voice, "I was afraid you would let go." After all, everyone was talking about her, and had all sorts of opinions about her. Meanwhile, the man beside her was the only person she could rely on. Emoting turned around and faced Tongning. In front of everyone, he grabbed onto her hands. "I suddenly feel like kissing you." Not only did Emoting say it, he immediately acted on it. Everyone took a deep breath. They never imagined the two would be so intimate at someone else's wedding. Oh God. Look, they're kissing. They can't even control themselves. This must be true love, right? Although I don't want to admit it, our great President Mo has indeed been won over by this model. His mood is a little messed up. In a moment, drink a few more glasses to ease his mood. However, Emoting wanted to make those that were jealous of Tongning even more jealous. He wanted to slap those that thought they were putting on a show. Then the newlyweds held a glass of wine and walked up to them with a blissful smile. Yu Feng hugged the bride and said to the couple, "Mo, this is our wedding. Leave us some glory." Feng Ge, I'm so sorry. Tongning grabbed a glass of champagne and offered a toast to the groom apologetically. However, Yu Feng simply smiled. I've been in Hai Rui for so many years, but I've never seen President Mo protect someone like this. The outside world is full of ups and downs. You need to get used to it. Otherwise, there will be more occasions like this in the future. I'm sure you don't want him to die from exhaustion, right? I understand. Tongning nodded. Make yourself strong. You've always done this very well. After speaking, the four men clinked glasses together. It was as if Emoting wasn't the CEO of Hai Rui, but simply a member of his family. Happy wedding. Thank you, President Mo. Not too far away, Lan Shi watched as Emoting and Tongning intertwined their fingers. She couldn't help but finish the glass of champagne in one gulp. Just like Tongning had said, she was indeed a joke. Especially when Tongning was still at Chengtian, she actually tried to hit on Emoting. At that time, even though she knew Tongning already had a boyfriend, she was certain she couldn't find anyone good. In reality, the words she said to Tongning earlier were simply because she wasn't willing to accept it. Outside the ballroom, the rain continued to pour. After the banquet ended, everyone was originally supposed to return to their respective hotels. But, even in such bad weather, the reporters held up their umbrellas and waited outside. Seeing the reporters' faces were red from the cold, many artists stopped to accept interviews. This included the surrounded Lan Shi and Ling Zi. After all, she also needed to be exposed. Of course, Emoting and Tongning were also the focus of the reporters. President Lan, Cheng Tian's former model, Tongning, was also present at the wedding. I wonder how it feels to see you again? I wish you all the best, Lan Shi replied in an official manner. In that case, do you think Ling Zi can reach Tongning's level? She is who she is. In my heart, Zi has her own charm. On the other side, Tongning was also being asked the same question. Miss Tang, are you embarrassed to see your old boss again? Miss Tang, I heard you did not make an appearance at Fashion Week. Rumor has it that you are filming on set. Is this true? Have you really decided to change careers and become an actress? Tongning knew there would be this question. So she immediately looked at the man beside her. He had told her to leave everything to him. Mo Ting hugged Tongning tightly before replying, I think her singing is better. Of course, the answer was a complete lie. They asked about acting in Runway, yet he actually replied that she was singing. Tongning subconsciously wanted to laugh. President Mo. Beijing is constantly comparing newcomers to Miss Tang. Do you mind if she is constantly being compared to others? For example, the recently famous Ling Ziyi. Who is that? Mo Ting asked straightforwardly. Every day, there were plenty of people that became famous. Who was this person? The reporters understood what Mo Ting was trying to say. They were all floating clouds in the sky. In that case, let me ask you a more personal question. When are you getting married? When they were flirting, he asked when they were going to announce their marriage. Now that they were going to announce their marriage. Regarding this question, Mo Ting only revealed an unfathomable smile. The reporters knew this was Mo Ting's limit, so they didn't ask any further. They simply stepped aside and allowed the couple to leave. Amidst the rainy night, the scene of the couple holding an umbrella as they left was captured by the reporters' cameras. This wedding was obviously a rehearsal for their own wedding. Meanwhile, after hearing Mo Ting's answer, Ling Ziyi finally realized that Tongning and Mo Ting had never treated her with any importance. Even if she ended up taking over Tongning's resources for Fashion Week, she had simply taken advantage of something that Tongning didn't want. Lan Jie, from now on, tell the media not to compare me to Tongning. I don't want to embarrass myself. Previously, Ling Ziyi was proud of the fact that she received Tongning's resources. But now, she suddenly felt like she was nothing. Lan Xi watched as the couple left and nodded her head. That's not someone we can match up to. Tongning has never been an ordinary person. Perhaps, she has something that will surprise me even more. I'll wait and see. Chapter 343. After Yufeng's wedding, Tongning and Mo Ting appeared on the headlines of many entertainment newspapers. That level of popularity was something that many artists could only look up to. But from that moment onwards, Tongning once again disappeared from the limelight and returned to filming. However, the results of the Asian Model Public Trust rankings were released. Tongning was ranked first in Asia with an income that was double that of the second place. Her huge photo was published on the international news. But to everyone's surprise, this powerful Asian model did not make an appearance at this year's Autumn/Winter Fashion Week. If Tongning is really going to film, then giving up everything she has is too courageous. Actually, an artist's value shouldn't be limited by the form they exist in. I think Tongning is well aware of her position and wants to challenge herself. Although I like her as a person, if she is actually going to film, I still wouldn't watch it. Exactly, a good character doesn't equal good acting. Tongning was undoubtedly a miracle. After 9 years in the industry, it only took her 4 months to return to the top of the industry. Just as she was about to become a global supermodel, she actually made such a huge decision and was willing to make such a sacrifice. The path she took made the onlookers feel it was quite interesting. On set, Tongning had already completed half of her scenes. That day, after the intense night scenes, Mo Ting's car arrived on set. Tongning looked at the time. Without removing her makeup, she opened the car door. It's already early in the morning. Why are you here? To pick you up to celebrate, Mo Ting said as he held onto the steering wheel and gestured for her to quickly get changed. Celebrate. Tongning was confused. It wasn't her birthday, nor was it Mo Ting's. What was there to celebrate? Mo Ting smiled without saying a word. Only after Tongning had changed did he leave the set with her. It's already so late. The restaurants outside are already closed. Mo Ting did not say a word as he drove her home. Before entering the house, Tongning was a little nervous. She was afraid this man would make a big fuss. However, after opening the door, all Tongning saw was a candlelit dinner in the living room. She relaxed and smiled as she complained. You scared me. I have a present for you. Mo Ting held her hand as they sat down at the dining table. He then placed a white box in her hands. Tongning tore open the fireworks on top of the box and opened the meticulously prepared box. Inside was a copy of Stupid. So fast? Tongning excitedly took out the book and quickly removed the packaging and the cover. A wedding present, Ting said in seriousness. The first book in the world is in your hands. When will it be released? Look below. Ting guided her. Tongning froze for a moment as she suppressed her excitement and looked at the box again. She then noticed a key embedded in the middle of the box. What is this? Haven't you noticed? Ting subconsciously looked around. Following his gaze, Tongning finally noticed the changes in the house. It seemed everything came in pairs and they were all custom-made. Including the furniture and utensils, they all had their names written on them. Tongning stood up from her seat and walked towards the bedroom. She then opened the bedroom door with the key in her hand. The originally Spanish palace style was now filled with the aura of newlyweds. It was now a combination of white and red. Everything in the bedroom also came in pairs and carried the unique logo of the couple. Since we are going to announce our marriage, we need to make it look like a newlyweds. Ting said as he stood behind Tongning and wrapped his arms around her. From now on August 19th every year, we will decorate this room like a newlyweds. Every August 19th, we will treat it like we are newlyweds. Tongning held back her tears as she asked in a choked-up voice, "How long have you been decorating all this?" "Since you agreed to announce our marriage." Ting released her from his embrace and walked over to her side to wipe away the tears on her face. "How could Stupid be considered a present? I simply wanted to share my joy with you. This is what I call a pleasant surprise. Although this is a flash marriage, I hope you can experience the love that other brides enjoy." Tongning hung onto Ting's neck as she began to cry. "Don't be so nice to me." Ting carried her and placed her on the red bed. He then leaned against her and said, "You were even willing to give up your career for me. How could I let you lose? If you continue to be so nice to me, I will have no choice but to give you my life," Tongning mumbled. Ting leaned against Tongning's body and asked in a raspy voice, "Are you still in your safe period?" "Yes," Tongning replied as she bit her lip. The next morning, Ting had just finished a video conference and returned to his office. Wuxia immediately approached him with some documents and handed them to Ting. "This is an online drama produced by Qingshi Film and Television and Wind Film. It's called Starpath. I received a synopsis from a special channel. The content is 70% similar to Stupid." That's not all. To cater to the audience, not only did they choose to film while broadcasting, they even added in the male lead's emotions and changed it to a very ambiguous gay film. It seems they are trying to earn some quick cash. Are they trying to play around the edges? Ting scoffed as he received the documents. That's about it. Wuxia nodded his head. Nowadays, the government had opened up their standards for film and television. So if they were to film like this, there would be no problems. The biggest problem was actually Hai Rui. When will the online drama be released? I estimate it to be early next month, Wuxia replied. Ting threw away the documents. He had no intention of wasting too much energy on something like this. From tomorrow onwards, I don't want to see the word Starpath ever again. When faced with a profit-driven world, sometimes one couldn't be too merciful. Understood, President. Wuxia replied respectfully. This was the birth of a movie. Sometimes it wasn't as smooth as you thought it would be. Tongning soon heard from Coke that Hai Rui's script had been used as a reference. But Hai Rui used a lot of pressure, so the word Starpath quickly disappeared without a trace. But even if they managed to prevent it this time, what about the next time? This was all because of Yu Shanshan. Hey Tongning, has a new novel been released for Stupid? A staff member from the production team asked curiously after seeing her holding a book. Tongning nodded her head. Do you want to read it? No need. Just tell me where I can buy it. Little Yu, can you help me find an internet celebrity that's good at writing jokes? Tongning suddenly asked. Although she had already received a copy of the book, it would still take at least half a month for Stupid to hit the market. In order to avoid any accidents, Tongning had an idea. Chapter 344. That night, Tongning gave Emoting a phone call and told her husband, "Stupid is currently in the middle of filming. Although my part is almost done, Shang Ji's scenes are still very important. There's still half a month before the novel goes on sale. In order to avoid any problems, let's pre-sell it first. Let's get the mainstream media to share the exciting content of the novel, and then pre-sell it. The most important thing isn't profits, but to let everyone know that Stupid is copyrighted. No one can touch it." Good idea. Emoting's lips curved upwards as he nodded with a smile. "Ning, even after being spoiled by me, you still haven't forgotten to think? I simply don't want you to worry about something like this over and over again. Focus on your filming. I'll get Wuxia to make arrangements." Emoting was in a good mood as he teased, "I'll visit you on set tonight and warm your bed." Even though they had been married for a long time, Tongning still couldn't help but blush. She couldn't withstand any teasing. Afterwards, Emoting put down his phone. At this time Wuxia smiled. "The madam is smart, but I've already done as you instructed." "Don't tell her." Emoting lifted his head and looked at Wuxia dangerously. Wuxia raised his hands and pretended to surrender. "I don't have the guts." "I heard that Stupid has released a novel. Have you guys heard?" "Of course, Sheng Ge has been posting pictures of it on social media. But I haven't found where to sell it. Since there was going to be a stir, the first place to start was naturally with the lead actor of Stupid. Lin Sheng was the first to start. His one call was enough to attract the attention of the fans as word of the novel spread like wildfire. Not long after, all sorts of famous internet celebrities started recommending the novel before it finally spread amongst fans. Afterwards, one of the biggest publishing companies under Hai Rue announced that Stupid would be released for sale in the middle of March. At the moment, it was only in the pre-sale stage, but the official website would be updated regularly. I really have to pay homage to the author of Stupid. The opening chapter actually starts with the stupid disciple being abandoned for the first time, and immediately grabs the hearts of the readers. His father is too despicable. I'm waiting for the day when he regrets his actions. Being recommended by the marketing team is so annoying. Originally, I wanted to go to Stupid to find fault, but I ended up falling for it. What a slap in the face. Can anyone tell me who the author of Idiot is? Now, I'm really looking forward to Shang Ji's role as the stupid disciple. It'll be so cool when he turns the tables and takes revenge. I want to know if Tongning will be playing the female lead. With the help of Hai Rue's planning, Stupid developed extremely quickly. Movie fans opened the door to novels, and novels brought endless expectations and possibilities to movies. In reality, not only were the public asking who the author of Stupid was, even Lin Sheng couldn't help but ask in private. From the start, you said you were here because of the screenwriter. Does that mean you know the author? Yes, but I need to keep it a secret. Tongning smiled as she held up the only book in her hand. Let me have a look at it later. Lin Sheng stood up and stretched out his hand, but Tongning refused. No. Xingge, you can read it on the official website. This book is not for lending. Since you're not going to lend it to us, don't wave it around in front of us. Lin Sheng glared at her. Show off. Tongning laughed. But deep down, she was happy that she had solved a difficult problem. However, the fame of Stupid didn't come with all its benefits. It also had its drawbacks. For example, the public's curiosity towards the female lead had accumulated to a certain level, so they began to do crazy things, such as secretly taking photos of her. Although the cast and crew were kept a secret, it didn't take long for powerful fans to find out where Stupid was located. In fact, they even tried to climb over the walls. Because of this, Mo Ting instructed Coke to adjust the filming sequence and focus on Tongning's scenes first. There wasn't much left and most of the scenes were indoor scenes. But, even if they didn't go to the set, fans would still go to the hotel where the cast and crew were staying to check on Tongning's room. This time, the hotel owner's daughter also wanted to know about the gossip. So she secretly checked on Tongning's room and illegally entered. Breaking news. Female lead of Stupid revealed. It was actually her. Insider reveals details of Tongning's hotel, confirms rumor of Tongning filming. Model turns to film. Her acting sucks. Seeing the news spread like wildfire overnight, Ting immediately arranged for the crew to be on high alert. Fuck. I never thought Tongning would be so brave. I never thought she would actually star in Stupid. Can't she just focus on the runway? She must think she's invincible because of her relationship with Ting. Seeing the public's malicious speculations, Wuxia angrily turned off her phone. She then looked at Tongning, who was still sitting quietly in her chair, waiting for her scene to start. It's fine. Who doesn't act like this on their first time? You're the one that's not fine, Tongning laughed. I've already prepared myself for this. So no matter what the public thinks of me, it doesn't matter. As long as I know what I'm doing, that's fine. With your acting skills. When your film is released, you can easily shut those haters up. Since you already know, then why are you still angry? Tongning confiscated Wuxia's phone. Stop scrolling through the news, it's affecting my mood. Tongning. All I need to do now is endure and wait for the right moment. The more people don't believe in me, the more I need to prove myself. After speaking, Tongning heard the director call for her to start preparing for the next scene. Actually, it didn't matter how much people scolded her because she was already used to it. But she didn't know why, but whenever she saw people scolding Stupid, or the writer or author, she couldn't stand it anymore. So in her latest scene, she frequently made NGs. Tongning, what's wrong with you today? You're not in character. Coke stood up from his seat and asked, are you feeling unwell? No, director, let's continue. However, after a few scenes, Tongning still couldn't get into character. At this time, the reporter hiding in the props box scoffed, with this level of NGs, even I would be better than her. I don't understand why Hai Rui has so many actors. Why did they choose her? Who asked her to have a boyfriend and you don't? Plus, no matter how many NGs she makes, as long as we have news to write about, it's already perfect. Not long after, Ting arrived on set. Seeing Tongning making NGs, he was quite surprised, so he walked over and pulled her away. What's going on? Chapter 345. If they want to scold me, they can scold me. I just don't understand why they dragged you into this. Tongning's voice sounded slightly wronged. As soon as Ting heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. Because you and I have always been one. Is it because of this NG? This isn't like you. This isn't like the flirtatious Tongning on the runway, or the domineering Tongning at the audition. I don't like it when people slander you. I can't stand it at all. Ting ran his hand through Tongning's hair, and placed a kiss on her forehead. In that case, how are you going to settle the score for being scolded so many times? Huh. Tongning took a deep breath. Perhaps because her feelings for Ting had deepened, some things had fundamentally changed. For example, after marrying Ting, every time she got emotional, it was because of him. When she was sick, he didn't take his medicine. When he had a headache, he didn't get it checked. It turned out, loving someone could go to this extent. Let me adjust a little. Tongning closed her eyes and took a deep breath. After she calmed down, she finally left Ting's embrace and returned to the set. Scene 163, first scene action. The script supervisor announced. In this scene, Tongning was 7 months pregnant, yet she was still smoking and drinking like a drug addict. This was the reason why her child was born with dementia. The child was already showing signs of being born prematurely, but she endured the pain as she smoked and made a phone call to her assistant. A moment later, there was a knock on the door. Tongning stood up from the sofa, but she fainted for a few seconds before falling back onto the sofa. Most people didn't pay attention to details like this when playing a pregnant woman. In fact, many celebrities were able to walk like they were flying even when they were pregnant. But Tongning's acting made everyone feel strangely realistic. They felt this was how a pregnant woman should act. She was a real pregnant woman. Because of her popularity, she had to hide it from the rich businessmen. In fact, there were many times when she was almost exposed, but she still managed to escape by a hair's breadth. The man you slept with is a member of the national swimming team. After hearing her assistant's response, the actress paused for a moment as she bit on the cigarette in her mouth and put it out. Luckily, my child won't starve to death. You obviously poisoned your child first. The assistant waved away the smoke. At this time, the actress made a shocking decision. I want to give birth at home. The assistant was shocked. Okay, pass. Needless to say, the actress that Tongning played could easily be portrayed as a crazy person. But in many small details, Tongning made her actions seem logical and reasonable. It was impossible to hate her. The two reporters, who were hiding in the toolbox, also saw Tongning successfully pass the test. He couldn't understand if the Tongning that had so many NGs and the Tongning that had just exploded with acting were the same person. The two even looked at each other. Are we still going to defame Tongning? Why do I feel that her acting skills are not bad? She even brought a pregnant woman to life. How would I know? Another reporter said. Moreover, even if she acted well here, it doesn't mean that this is her average level. The many NGs just now are proof. Did you film the part just now? No, I thought you were filming. I didn't film it either. The couple looked at each other and came to a conclusion. In that case, Tongning can only be defamed. That day, the rumor that Tongning was filming was confirmed. Naturally, it caused a huge commotion in the modeling and acting industry. The people of the fashion industry were naturally waiting to watch a good show. Tongning had given up her career as a supermodel and had decided to start all over again. But the entertainment industry wasn't a place she could enter just because she wanted to. If a runway show could be completed with the help of resources and background, then acting would expose a person's skills right from the start. The audience wouldn't ignore an actress's acting just because her clothes looked good. Must Hairui do this? Why must they let Tongning act? I won't watch it. They are simply ruining a good script. During this time, a few other films also held press conferences. All of them were big productions with popular themes and famous directors and actresses. This caused a huge impact and threat to Stupid. Experts that specialized in the box office estimated that based on the recent films, Stupid, which was originally going to win, was no longer viewed favorably by the industry. This was all because Tongning was revealed to be the female lead. As for Battle Robes, it was declared to have a shot at the Fei Tian Awards. Their box office earnings were estimated to exceed $1 billion. The other film, The Doomsday Thief, was a comedy master's latest masterpiece. Although the production wasn't as good as the other two, there was no denying that it had the potential to be a dark horse. Amongst the other films was a romance film. This time, Stupid had a famous French director and a top actor, Lin Sheng. But in the end it was pushed to the bottom because of Tongning. Lin Sheng's fans expressed their dissatisfaction. They wanted Mo Ting to play with fire and not implicate their Lin Sheng. Yet they actually made Tongning act. How was this fooling around? They were simply toying with them to death. I strongly suggest Hairui change their female lead again. Otherwise, I would rather Stupid not be released at all. It would be a waste of Sheng's acting. Exactly, it was a good start and their promotions were great. But why did they have to change it to Tongning? I don't understand. Change Tongning. Change the female lead. If Hairui insists on doing things their way, then we Lin Sheng's fans will band together to boycott the release of Stupid. Seeing the storm that was brewing, the production crew looked at Tongning comfortingly. Don't worry, Tongning, you aren't like what they say. Your filming is almost complete, don't let it affect you. That's right. Your acting and professionalism are obvious to all. We all support you. The production crew comforted Tongning. Even Lin Sheng took a break from filming and asked, "Do you want me to clarify everything?" No need. Once the film is released, the answer will naturally be revealed. Plus President Mo won't sit idly by, Lin Sheng continued. But there are some things that need to be clarified as soon as possible. Otherwise, we may miss out on a chance to turn things around. I understand. Tongning nodded her head. If there's anything you need me to do, just let me know. Since the public has already exposed you, President Mo may ask you to face the public at the next event. Of course, I hope you can turn something rotten into something magical. Walking on the runway and acting are easy for you, let alone facing a few skeptics. Unknowingly, Mo Ting had already arrived behind Tongning. So of course he overheard their conversation. That's right. The next time the main cast goes for an interview, you will need to attend. Chapter 346. Don't be afraid, we will all be here to help you, Lin Xing comforted. Tongning turned around and looked at Mo Ting. She noticed his lips were curved upwards and he was obviously smiling. But her heart was still not relaxed enough. I've placed stupid at the bottom of the list. Aren't you guys worried at all? What's there to be worried about? Mo Ting asked. If I was a model, I would be able to control the changes and know what to do. I would be able to salvage my image and help myself improve. But as an actress, I am still unfamiliar with it. With your acting skills and President Mo's PR skills, sooner or later, the Fei Tian Best Actress Award will be yours. Lin Xing was not stingy with his praise. In the industry, there were some people that didn't have talent and weren't hardworking, while the majority of people didn't have talent, but were extremely hardworking. People like Tongning, who were both talented and hardworking, were extremely rare. I simply want to do my best and stupid. As for other things, I haven't thought too far ahead. Tongning revealed her thoughts. You don't need to think too far ahead. The man behind you will help you plan your future path. But even after all this time, the public still couldn't stop their evaluation of her. Zero acting skills. Seeing these 3 words, Tongning was reminded of Mo Euro. During the Oriental trend, she was also like this, causing Mo Euro to receive 0 mentions in the competition. Who would have thought, so quickly, it would be her turn to receive 0 acting skills? 0 acting skills. The public's fans were already making a huge fuss, and even started a small boycott of the film. But the entire crew knew that Tongning wasn't as lacking in acting skills as the fans claimed. In fact, her acting skills were amazing. Once the film is released, these people will know that their faces will hurt. But if they continue to boycott the film, who will want to watch it? I hope Hai Rui can quickly resolve this issue, and not let such a good film remain silent. One director even posted his thoughts on social media. He commented on how many hardworking actors in the industry were wasting their youth because they couldn't get their hands on good resources. He also commented on how many people were holding on to the best backgrounds and dragging down the film industry. His never knowing how to act was actually a hint to Tongning. Tongning was the one dragging down the film industry. If this director was standing in front of me, I would definitely give him a slap across the face. He has never seen you act before. How could he come to such a conclusion so quickly? Long Jie was furious. Even when she was forced to kneel by Qin Yu, she had never felt so humiliated. It's his right to express his opinion, Tongning replied calmly. But that's too harsh. The more unpleasant his words are now, the redder his face will be in the future. In reality, the development of the incident had already exceeded everyone's expectations. Famous directors in the industry had banded together to boycott non-professional actors, and placed the label of hindering the development of the film industry on the heads of artists that were like Tongning, who were multi-talented. They even pointed out a few well-made films that failed because of the actors. Stupid was one of them. President, someone is behind this joint statement. Lu Che handed over the information he had found to Mo Ting. Previously, Hai Rui used strong methods to stop Starpath from developing. But who would have thought the producer of Starpath is the heir of a film family? He came across the script by chance and simply wanted to play around. But in the end, Hai Rui messed with him and made him feel uneasy. The director was formed by his parents. I must say, the old couple have quite a lot of connections. This time they are targeting the madam. The higher-ups seem to be taking this matter seriously. Even the official media has stated that they are giving the actors the treatment and respect they deserve. In reality, they were simply telling everyone to replace the actors that needed to be replaced. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to pass the audition process. Tongning's scenes for Stupid are almost done. I've already arranged for her to audition, Mo Ting said as he looked at the script for Gunshot. Mo Ting glanced at the script for Gunshot from the corner of his eyes. Arrange a stage name for Tongning to attend the audition for Gunshot. Isn't Gunshot the director that released the statement? I want him to see Tongning act. I want him to have a good look at her acting skills. Mo Ting's eyes were filled with a fierce light. What if the madam passes the audition? Mo Ting stood up from his office chair and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window. He then said calmly, "This is simply a way to prove my wife's worth. To be honest, his acting. I don't like it. He better not turn around and beg me again. I'll get to it immediately." Lu Che's eyes lit up with excitement. Mo Ting was indeed Mo Ting, as black-bellied and sinister as ever. Since the director couldn't stand Tongning, then he was going to get Tongning to audition and let him see for himself whether Tongning had acting skills or not. This was perhaps the most satisfying way to slap him in the face. With so many eyes and so many judges, as long as Tongning received recognition, the slap would land firmly on the other party's face. Not only that, the rumors that Tongning had no acting skills would also be debunked. That evening, Lu Che gave Tongning the script for Gunshot and explained Mo Ting's idea to her. "Madam, there is a female shooter in Gunshot. If you are willing to give it a try, the president will send someone to teach you how to shoot during a break." He was indeed the emperor of black-bellied. He knew exactly what she liked. Okay, Donnie nodded. The cool fighter was indeed what she liked. What about the fighting part? Ahem. The president said he could personally teach you. Lu Che scratched his neck awkwardly. As he replied, "Actually, President, your fighting skills are pretty good. I've seen it before. It's academic style." Tongning lowered her head and smiled. "I wasn't worried about that. In that case, madam, why don't you come up with a stage name? Ishan Tang Ishan. Half real and half fake." Tongning casually decided. In reality, she knew deep down that Mo Ting simply wanted her to prove her acting skills. He didn't actually want her to act in Gunshot. But, even so, Tongning still looked at the script seriously. Not only that, Tongning was looking forward to seeing Mo Ting teach her how to fight. Most importantly, she was going to slap the director in the face this time. Otherwise, Stupid would never be able to turn around. This was an important opportunity. After all, she also wanted a wedding present that she was going to present to the public. "Okay, I'll go arrange for the registration and audition. Get ready, we only have a few days, it's a rush." Chapter 347. After deciding to audition for Gunshot, Tongning also practiced her shooting skills and fighting skills in between filming Stupid. But due to time constraints, Mo Ting and the shooting instructor they hired tried their best to pick out routine moves that were valuable to her. Previously, the shooting instructor was worried that Tongning wouldn't be able to overcome the harsh conditions. But after interacting with Tongning for real, he realized that this 26-year-old model had an indomitable strength and tenacity. So, in between filming, Tongning would practice her marksmanship. Then, after returning to the hotel at night, she would sit in the training room with Mo Ting and learn some basic fighting skills. Luckily, due to her long-term bodybuilding, Tongning's flexibility was good. If she was a normal model, she would probably end up crying out in pain after practicing these moves. Mo Ting even knew how to fight. This was something that Tongning had never experienced before. She had a feeling that someone as calm as Mo Ting wouldn't be interested in hot-blooded things. But what did Boss Missouri say? I was once young too. Watching Mo Ting's powerful kicks and punches, Tongning felt like her heart was about to fly away. He was so handsome that her heart raced. Although it was important to look at Mo Ting's handsomeness, Tongning still put in 100% of her focus as she practiced every move. She even demanded that she be perfect. Over the next 2 days, the fans continued to cause a ruckus, but Hai Rui did not respond at all. Especially Lin Shang's fans. They acted like their idol had been ruined by Hai Rui, and demanded that Lin Shang's management agency cancel his contract with Hai Rui. Shang has been dragged down. I'm begging Hairui to let him go. I don't care. But if my film is dragged down by Tongning in the end, I swear, I will hate that bitch for the rest of my life. Since the film has already been filmed, there's no point in saying anything else. All I can say is, I'm a little disappointed in Hairui. Haha, it's no wonder they have a backer. Even though they dragged down the entire production, Tongning still has the guts to stay on the set of Stupid. I'm impressed by how thick her skin is. Apart from those that knew Tongning's acting skills, no one else believed her. Of course, as a newcomer to the film industry, Tongning never expected them to understand. That night at home, Emoting hugged Tongning and said, I'll take you to the audition tomorrow. No need. Since it's a secret, you won't be able to achieve your goal if you go. Don't worry, I know what to do. I will definitely prove it to everyone. We're about to announce our marriage, but you're still so tired. Tongning ran her fingers up Emoting's neck as she calmly leaned into his embrace and replied in satisfaction. But I've never felt tired. If we're talking about being tired, you're obviously more tired than me. All right, go to sleep. We have to wake up early tomorrow. Tongning stretched out her hand to stop Emoting as she smiled. But President Emo, I want you. Emoting froze as he looked down at Tongning in disbelief. What did you just say? I said I want you. Don't you know that every move you make in the training room is a fatal temptation to me? If it wasn't to seduce you, why would I need to get on top of you? Emoting flipped over, his voice low and magnetic. Tongning wrapped her arms around his narrow waist and tried her best to press her body against his. You succeeded. The audition for the big production Gunshot. News of the audition had already begun to spread, and the director of the film was the same director Zhang that had previously released a statement condemning Tongning. There were over 100 people auditioning for the audition. In other words, the female lead would be 1 in 100. Apart from director Zhang, there were also 7 to 8 famous artists, famous actors and investors on the judging panel. It was a very strong lineup. As for Tongning, she was disguised as Tang Yijin to attend the audition. Her appearance number was 33. In other words, she was close to the middle. In order to prevent anyone from recognizing her, Tongning specially put on a wig and a loose outfit to cover her legs. As expected, because everyone was too nervous about the audition, no one noticed who she was. Especially since a few of the auditionees were currently very popular. In reality, the crew of Gunshot didn't necessarily need to use the content of Gunshot as a basis for the audition. So, Tongning felt those that had to memorize the script were quite pitiful. When it came to acting, sometimes, one had to rely on their instincts. As the auditionees entered the room one by one, Tongning remained relatively calm. However, the people around her were extremely nervous. A few of them even rushed to the bathroom in a panic. Hi, how are you? Tongning lifted her head and looked at the person that patted her on the shoulder. She froze for a moment without saying a word. The person was a short-haired woman in her early 20s wearing a police uniform. From the looks of it, she was also one of the auditionees. What number are you? Number 33, Tongning replied. I noticed you didn't bring your script. You don't seem to be in a hurry either. Are you waiting for a friend? The woman asked as she sat down beside her. Perhaps. Tongning did not want to converse with the woman for too long. So the more she tried to brush her off, the more she realized, the more this woman in police uniform would clash with her in the future. Idan, it's your turn. Idan's manager called out. The woman called Idan stood up from her seat and said to Tongning, You're actually here for an audition too, aren't you? Tongning. Even though she was exposed, Tongning did not show any signs of panic. At the same time, the woman did not seem to have any intention of revealing her identity. As their eyes met, Tongning suddenly felt this woman was quite interesting. Afterwards, Zhang Yidan entered the rehearsal room. Facing the judges, she did not show any signs of stage fright. Flip to page 94 of Gunshot and act out that scene, the head examiner instructed. Zhang Yidan nodded her head and flipped open the page. It was a scene where her friend sacrificed himself for her, and she needed to improvise on the spot. Apart from testing the most basic acting skills, The script also tested the actor's freedom to act. Zhang Yidan quickly gathered her emotions and suddenly exploded. She knelt in front of her friend and held onto his chest. "Don't die, you won't die." Panic, fear, anger, unwillingness. Zhang Yidan's tears and snot flowed down her face as she quickly got into character. "Please. Nothing can happen to him." Afterwards, she stood up, smashed the props around her and knelt on the floor in pain. Although she didn't have any experience in acting, the entire scene. Her emotional scenes were rich and her eyes were layered. Most importantly, her acting was smooth. Not bad, not bad. You're Zhang Yidan, right? You acted well. Chapter 348. This Zhang Yidan is not bad. According to her profile, she graduated from the best performing academy. She's not bad indeed. She's not bad. But I think it's because you've seen too much rubbish in the past. That's why as soon as a good one appears, you're surprised. That's true. Let's continue. After a short discussion, the judges instructed their assistants to arrange for another audition. But the following actresses either showed off their jokes, had no acting skills at all, or were simply trying to impress the crowd. The judges rolled their eyes as they watched. They suddenly realized, it seemed, the next actresses wouldn't be better than Zhang Yidan. In fact, they would only get worse. Number 33, Tang Yizhen. Tang Yizhen. I've never heard of this person. What about you guys? Neither have I. Let's watch her act first. The judges lowered their heads. They had already given up on the previous actresses, let alone someone with an unknown background. But, just as the judges' attention was no longer on the stage, someone called out in surprise. The eyes of the judges were immediately drawn to her. A moment later, everyone was stunned. At this moment, Tongning was wearing a ripped white t-shirt and a pair of skinny jeans. Her hair was short and neat. Most importantly, there was a mole between her eyebrows. She was dressed exactly like the female lead in the script. No. The female shooter had come back to life. The judges were extremely excited. With one glance, they were immediately attracted to this actress. On the dark stage, because of her hair, it was impossible to see her facial features. But this did not stop her from being calm and capable. Turn to page 23 of Gunshot. You can act in that scene. Tongning's assistant handed over the script for Gunshot. However, Tongning did not accept it. She simply said in a low voice, "I don't need the script." What an arrogant tone. But I like it. One of the judges clapped his hands in approval. Okay, since you don't need it, let's begin. Out of all the auditions this morning, this was the first time all the judges had their full attention on the stage. Even for Zhang Yidan, there were always people who found flaws and inadequacies. Yet Tongning was able to capture the hearts of the judges with her appearance alone. Plus, she exuded a trustworthy aura. The judges were completely focused on Tongning. Afterwards, 1, 2, 3. Tongning counted to herself as she raised her gun and broke through the door. It was at this time that the judges realized the way she held the gun was so accurate. It was so heroic. Most importantly, a few of the judges noticed that Tongning's left pinky finger was slightly straight. The female gunner in the script had once been sick and her left finger joints were hardened. Who would have thought Tongning would notice such a small detail? It was precisely because of these details that the female gunner looked more three-dimensional. This was a scene of breaking the door to save someone, but after entering the door, she realized that she had been fooled. There was only a time bomb in the room, and the exit was sealed. Tongning looked around for a mechanism as she carefully hit the wall. At first, she listened intently to the sound, but soon, she lost her patience and punched the wall repeatedly. This is a scene from pretending to be calm to the heart exposed. The judges followed Tongning's gaze like they were also in the middle of a dangerous scene. In the end, Tongning found a hole in the wall that had just been sealed. It was the exit. But the time bomb only lasted for 10 seconds. So she turned the gun around and used the handle of the gun to strike the wall. Each strike was harder and more explosive than the last. Finally, the bomb stopped. The wall was broken through. Some of the judges were so immersed in the scene that they thought there was a bomb. So the moment the bomb stopped, they subconsciously held their heads. The scene. The performance was over, and everyone was stunned. This sense of immersion, this acting, this soul of a performer, there was no one more powerful and suitable than her. The entire set erupted into a round of applause as director Zhang repeatedly cheered. "Oh God, this is amazing! Truly amazing!" Tongning looked at director Zhang, looked at the judges and bowed to them. At this time, director Zhang said to Tongning, "Tang Yijin, you are the one. The role of the female gunner can only be played by you, no one else can." Whether it was appearance, acting or expression, apart from not having any lines, Tongning had done everything she could. Director Zhang was extremely excited. It had been a long time since he had met such an intelligent actress. It was obvious that Tongning had put in a lot of effort for this role. "Director Zhang, aren't we going to watch the rest?" his assistant asked curiously. "No need. Even someone with this level of acting might not have a similar figure. Haven't you noticed? She even managed to capture the smallest details in the film. So, you can imagine how well she understood the character." Director Zhang was in a state of excitement and excitement. Meanwhile, the 10 authoritative judges all agreed that Tongning had acted well. "Are you willing to join Gunshot? You are the one." Hearing this question, Tongning smiled as she removed the wig from her head, revealing her original appearance. Just a moment ago, it was all thanks to the wig that she had used to conceal herself. "I'm not willing," Tongning replied in a serious tone. "I'm not willing. What's going on?" One of the judges was confused. "If you're not willing, why did you come to the audition? Why does this woman look so familiar?" "Oh, that's Tongning. How is that possible? How could it be Tongning?" "I am Tongning," Tongning replied calmly. "I'm here because of the article that director Zhang posted on his social media account. You keep saying that I'm dragging the film industry down, and that I have zero acting skills. Yet today you're asking me to join Gunshot as the female lead. Are you slapping yourself in the face?" Director Zhang's expression changed. "It's true that I used to be a model, but it doesn't mean that I can't be an actress. I simply came here today to prove myself. As for whether my acting skills are good, I'm sure you know better than anyone. Your identity means that your every word and action will be closely scrutinized. Do you know how much trouble you've caused Hai Rue and I by assuming that I have zero acting skills before you've even seen me act?" Director Zhang's face turned red and white. Tongning's slap was so powerful that he couldn't even retaliate. So many people were watching Tongning act. Her acting was so natural that he couldn't deny it. So he was too ashamed to show his face. "Amazing," someone commented on Tongning. "She actually used such a method to prove herself. Who else could be more amazing than her?" Chapter 349. Tongning walked out of the audition with her head held high. But the audition hall was in an uproar. No one could have imagined that the person that won over the audience with her acting would be the person that they had all joined together to boycott, Tongning. Above all, no one expected that Tongning would use such a method to prove herself and her acting skills. That's right. Those that had seen her on stage today couldn't help but sigh. If Tongning's performance was considered as having no acting skills, then what about all the other actors that only had one expression for the entire film? It wasn't that Tongning didn't have any acting skills. On the contrary, her acting was smooth, natural. This caused quite a shock to the judges. How were they supposed to face the public after joining together to boycott her? How were they supposed to face the public? After leaving the audition hall, Tongning boarded Mo Ting's car. At this time, someone finally reacted. The two people that just left, were they Tongning and Mo Ting? How is this possible? Why would they appear at the audition for Gunshot? Oh, I must have been seeing things. The blue Maybach sped away, leaving behind a shocked and confused crowd. There were still 100 people left to audition, but after seeing Tongning's performance, the judges acted like they were under a spell. They felt Tongning's performance was the best. Those that had acting skills didn't match their looks, while those that had a good appearance didn't have any acting skills. Even Zhang Yidan seemed weak in comparison to Tongning. Hey, have you guys heard? Tongning went to the audition for Gunshot. What's she doing there? A runway show? Here, let me show you a video. You'll understand. As news of Tongning's audition began to spread, the video was uploaded online by an unknown person. Not long after, news of Tongning going to Gunshot to slap the face began to spread like wildfire. Everyone opened the video with the mentality that Tongning couldn't possibly be acting. In the end, they all ended up closing their phones with the mentality that they had seen a ghost. They were left speechless for quite some time. I can't believe Tongning used such a method to slap the face. She's amazing, I have to hand it to her. Isn't director Zhang the director that previously accused her of dragging down the film industry? Tongning went to the scene to refute him. Apparently, director Zhang didn't know Tongning was auditioning for the role. So he picked her on the spot but was rejected, haha. I must say, Tongning is really willing to throw caution to the wind. Look at her acting. There's not even a shadow of herself in the slightest. She is truly talented. I already knew she was good at reading people, but who would have thought she would actually apply this skill to acting? Either way, I have been won over by her. To be fair, Tongning's acting is way better than the newcomers. I think films should use more newcomers. I saw on the official website of Stupid that the female lead abandoned her child. Anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing Tongning in this role. Tongning is awesome. Everyone expected Tongning to attend Fashion Week and receive the title of an international supermodel. Yet she ended up switching to acting. Just when everyone thought she had zero acting skills, she responded to everyone's suspicions with a strong audition, causing the public's expectations for Stupid to rise once again. It was hard not to not feel like her life was a legend. It didn't take long before the set of Stupid opened for the media to visit. This was the first time the media were able to see Tongning on set. Not too far away, Mo Ting was standing on set with Tongning's jacket in his hands, like a married couple following their husband. 20 minutes later, Tongning finished filming. The reporters approached and politely asked for an interview. Hello, Tongning. Can I have a little bit of your time? Tongning turned her head and looked at Mo Ting. Seeing him nod, she nodded her head, sure. How did you manage to go from a model to an actress and still have such natural acting skills? I didn't use any special techniques. During filming, I simply acted as the main character. That was all I needed to do. In that case, previously, the public had a lot of doubts about you, although you've already proven them to be true with your actions. How did you feel when you saw the doubts? The female reporter asked dutifully. Tongning adjusted her uncomfortable wig and smiled. If there are doubts, it means the fans have expectations for the film. I feel happy. That way, the hard work of Stupid wouldn't have gone to waste. What about yourself? Aren't you unhappy? I wouldn't say that. I simply hope that, whether you are an expert or a professor, others will respect you. But you will also be worthy of respect, Tongning replied in seriousness. It's precisely because I am a public figure that I shouldn't make assumptions. If you criticize me after you've seen me act, I feel this is a form of motivation. But if you've never seen me act and you say I'm a drag on the industry, I think, even if I don't join the cast of Gunshot, when the results of Stupid are released, you will still feel embarrassed. I don't want to be enemies with others. I simply want to film Stupid well. I welcome all criticism, but I have always been a person of my word. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. I don't care about my career in film, and I don't have any ambitious goals. My biggest wish is to film Stupid well. As long as they don't go overboard, I will respect the truth and tolerate them. As for my future path, I will have to ask my manager. Thank you. After speaking, Tongning finally removed her wig and Mo Ting helped her put on her jacket. In all her years in the industry, this was probably the most straightforward and heartfelt statement she had ever made. She was strong, but her motive was pure. She simply wanted to film a good film, and didn't want to be enemies with others. If someone tried to offend her, then sorry, she would not be a coward. Shouldn't I be reciting a script for you? How dare you say anything? Mo Ting asked as he hugged her. You are right beside me. Plus, you understand me the best. How could you not know what I want to say? Tongning couldn't help but pinch Emoting on the waist. Emoting laughed. I never expected you to be so strong. While I am still on the moral high ground, if I don't speak in a strong manner and people continue to provoke me, what should I do? How could Emoting not understand this logic? He was simply afraid that she would be too direct and offend some fans and end up being whipped 100 times. But this time Tongning was met with applause. Going to the audition for Gunshot was too much of a slap in the face. Everyone felt great. Her method was a textbook example of a counterattack. Everything is getting better. Stupid is about to finish filming. Next, it is time for you to make a decision. Do you want to continue on the runway, or do you want to take on the next film? Emoting asked for Tongning's opinion. In reality, he already knew what choice she would make. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.